mean, I'm sure to you, Dr. B, when you talk about the things you talk about, and then you have people like D.L. Hughley coming and attacking you and Roland Martin because you're not saying the same things that they're saying. We don't have to attack each other because we think differently.
Well, let's just be clear. I mean, DL and Roland are being compensated. You know, that's what it is. That's what we got to just know the difference.
So do they get paid directly, or they just come on their platforms and give them money that way?
I think I speculate.
Advertising.
I speculate that there is some money involved, right? You know, because Roland does run a media platform that, you know, and they pay. Remember, all those billions of dollars they raised to run for president. What's that being spent on? It's being given to media outlets for advertising, right? So this is a money grab for a lot of elite gatekeepers, you know, that pretty much get credit for basically hurting Black people in a certain direction. That's what you know. It's like a political boss. Al Sharpton's been one for a long time. He gets his leverage and power and access by saying, I can deliver this many Black people for you. And if you don't deliver, then they say, well, we have no use for you. It's kind of like that. And this happens all around the world. There's African countries like that. If you go to Nigeria, Nigeria has as much oil more oil than most Saudi Arabian countries, if not all, or sorry, all the countries near Saudi Arabia, right? So why do they have so much poverty? Well, because you got these elite folks that are collecting money to let them go dig in the ground and take all the country's resources and not compensate the people. So the same thing it happens with the Black community. So as long as we have this mindset that says we're supposed to do as we're told and we're not supposed to question anything, the community at large is never going to move forward. You're just going to always have this pocket of radical people that just say, I'm not doing it no more. I'm not participating because this does not make logical sense. But you have so many individuals. You remember, think about it. D.L. Hughley was up on that stage at the Democratic National Convention, right? That's a type of access and privilege that I'm sure makes him very, very happy. So when he called me and cussed me out because of the things I said about him, I didn't even argue. I didn't even say a word.
Oh, he called you? But, I thought that was just online.
Oh no!
He sent me first. He sent me some really nasty Facebook, Instagram messages, and then we got on the phone, and it wasn't just I don't agree with you. It was more like, fuck you. I'm gonna kick your ass. You don't know who I am. You don't know who I know. I can come get you. That type of shit, right? And of course, I'm just laughing because I'm like, cool. you're an old man, and I can whoop your ass very easily, but. Keep talking. I just listened. I was like, wow, I should record this so people can hear how.
But he sounded crazy. He sounded like a crazy person.
He did.
Like
it made me worry. I really, when I heard that, I worried about his mental health. I really did. I said, is he okay? I didn't say a single word because a mutual friend that brought us together, and I just sat there and I said, this is really surprising to hear him speak this way, and it's really reflective of just how insane they make us. Like they create a civil war in our community, and they don't care if. You ain't talking to your cousin no more. They don't care if you divorce your wife over politics or your kids hate you now. They just will do anything they can to manipulate us into doing what they need us to do. And I think that at the very least, whatever your position is, I just tell people, just don't argue with your own damn relative over who they vote for. That is their right.
That's crazy. Yeah.
You know, it's really simple. It's your right to vote for who you want to vote for. So why am I going to deny 30 years of you being in my life and us supporting each other over a damn election? I don't think that is logical at all.
And then this is the issue too in the Black community. In what other community do you have entertainers being elevated to the level of a political scholar? And Malcolm talked about this. Comedian D.L. Hughley doesn't even have a high school education. Charlemagne the guy had to go to night school. Dr. Boyce is a doctor. So it's not equivalent. I mean, at least I'll give it to Roland. Roland, is his degree and everything. But what other community is this allowed to happen but our community?
So are we not cool with Ice Cube doing it then? Because he's an entertainer, and we looked at him kind of like.
But Ice Cube was different because Ice Cube did go to scholars to lay out his position. He understood his role. Like Ice Cube was like, I'm an entertainer. I don't even do this. He said that. He said, look, I'm too busy usually to be involved with politics. But because the pandemic happened, I had some free time and I looked over and realized nothing was getting done. So he was just lending his power in his platform. He wasn't coming in trying to drive the car. He said, I could buy the car though, and y'all can get in it and drive it. But there's a difference there.
But I will say this, and I'm gonna drop off after this. We still have to play the game. No matter what, it's just the cards we dealt. That's just the rules. So we still have to play this game, and until we able to position ourselves to really, take a hold of the game and turn it the way that we want to turn it. Because I have friends that are lobbyists, and they don't take anything personal. And they told me, never take politics personal, because at the end of the day, they all about money. They all have some level of crookedness in them, and they all out for themselves pretty much. So knowing that and knowing how they work, you just have to play the game and get in and get what you can while you can. So that's why I believe I don't care who wins. I could get along with either one of them, and I could talk with them and infiltrate their camp and their organization and help my people for however I need to. I've done it before on lower level, but you can't take politics seriously, because the same politicians that say they hate one another, don't like one another, they're going to restaurants and eating and dining out and making plans how to get money and swing each other money. That's the game at the end of the day.
Well, let me ask you this, Dr. B, because I see you talking a lot about the Democratic Party on your platform. I see you making fun of Kamala all the time. You say a lot. You ask what she's doing for Black people. I don't hear the same rhetoric about Donald Trump on your platform or about the Republican Party.
Well, the first thing I'll say in response to that, if you go to my Instagram right now, which is Dr. Boyce Finance, you'll see that I actually have some comedic stuff up here with Trump. I think that there was like a video of him and Rudy Giuliani, or Giuliani was dressed in drag, and Trump goes up to him and like puts his face in between his breasts and kind of motorboats. It was real weird. It was like 20 years ago. And then there's another video of the little kid who's like imitating Trump. And he's like, this Halloween, we're gonna get all the candy. We're gonna have more candy than ever. It's gonna be the big, So there is some stuff in there in Trump. Just to be fair to this, but I will agree with you 100% that I tend to talk about the Democratic Party more than the Republican Party, and let me tell you why. The Democrats owe us because we keep them in power. Mm-hmm. We don't keep the Republicans in power. If we were, voting 80% Republican in every election, then yes, I would absolutely be talking about the Republicans more, because I believe that if somebody owes you money, you talk to the person who owes you money, not to the person who didn't loan them anything, right? So I'm not saying the Republicans don't have an obligation to lead and support everyone in the country when they take power, but if I work 40 hours a week at your factory and you don't pay me, and I come to you and I say, well, hey, you didn't pay me. Like, what's going on? And you say, well, why are you talking about me? You should be talking about the guy down the street. But the guy down the street I did not work for him. I work for you. Black people don't work for the Republicans like that. We work for the Democrats. So in my view, they owe us a massive, massive debt. And it's not, it's a popular, actually, a lot of people feel this way, because if you really focus on how people feel, you'll notice that the millions of Black people who either are not voting Democrat or are now voting Republican, if you ask them, well, who did you vote for in 2008 and 2012? They're going to say Obama. But they got their hearts broken because there is a policy within the Democratic Party that the Black community is owed nothing, that they are a bunch of suckers that will sit there and take whatever crap we feed them. And there's just a fundamental disrespect. Right. And so this is what people are rebelling against. They're like, no more. This is not going to happen anymore. So maybe, who knows, maybe in this election, I don't know if they're going to win or not. If they lose, hopefully they'll be smart enough to say, okay, everything that we did where we were acting like we suddenly love Black men, maybe next time we'll start a year early. Right. So that we have a track record. Right. We don't look like the guy who's showing up and being nice to you because he wants something. I need something right now, or I heard you got your welfare check. Like they can say, look, we have a track record of being connected to the Black community, and so now we're asking you to support us like we've supported you. Just a simple idea of reciprocity.
Dr. B,
agree.
So I appreciate that, because I know that most people don't know that. So what they think is because you are calling people. What's up, Dr. Alicia?
Hey,
because you are asking for accountability. They think you're automatically a Trump supporter, and you've never said that you're a Trump supporter. But it also, but because you do call accountability to the Democratic Party, then people will think that you're a Trump supporter, and they will follow what they think that you're doing because they think you are a Trump supporter, and then they will vote for Trump because they think that you are.
Mm.
So I know that you're not. I know what you're doing, but a lot of people don't know what you're doing. And they automatically think because you hold Democrats accountable that you're automatically a Trump supporter.
Yeah, I get it. I understand. And I refuse to accept that label because what I'm being is a free American who has the right to do whatever the hell I want. And you're not going to, I don't think anybody should be trapped by the propaganda. The propaganda is if you don't give us your vote, because we know you're black and you owe us your vote. If you don't give us your vote, then we're going to call you out of your name. We're going to call you a Republican or a Trump supporter. They did that to Cube a lot. Cube literally repeatedly said over and over again, he's not going to vote Republican. But the propaganda went to the highest levels. SNL did a whole skit where they had him wearing a Trump hat. And he said, I would never wear that hat. Right. So this is how propaganda works. And this is what bullying looks like. When people talk about voter suppression, I feel like voter suppression doesn't just happen with Republicans trying to stop us from voting. I think it also happens with the Democrats forcing us into a choice that we're not comfortable with, or people ostracizing you because you're exercising your rights. You know, just like, you know, when I hear feminists say my body, my choice, it's my ballot, my choice. You're not going to talk me out of that.
Hey, Doc, a quick question.
Has been benign neglect. That's their policy towards Black people is benign neglect, and they can package it up any way they please. But that is the unwritten law. And this scramble to all of a sudden now we have a little policy for Black men. But remember when we broke it down on the show, ladies, when we opened the document, it was like Black men and others. It was like 3 times Black men and others. What, 3 weeks before the election? Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Quick question, Doc. Have you ever tried to talk with anyone in the White House with any administration recently?
Not recently. The last time I talked to anybody in the White House was when Obama first got elected. I was really enthusiastic about it. You know, I humbly submit that actually I remember predicting that he was going to rise before it really happened. I saw him and he's so articulate. And I said, man, if Black people knew what this guy was bringing to the table, I think they would really support him. Because at that time, Hillary Clinton was the big fish. And then Oprah endorsed Obama. And I said, if this continues, watch out. This guy's really good. And so I believed him. I got excited when he got elected. He had a beautiful family and he's such a sharp guy. I became disillusioned because after he got elected, I used to write for AOL Black Voices. And what they do is they have like this Black section of their press division. Like apparently they don't just have the main press secretary. They have other people that are responsible for different segments of media. So they had one Black dude who was responsible for reaching out to all the Black influencers and stuff. Right. So he would reach out to me. And I thought, oh, this is great. This is, you know, so now that you've gotten all these Black votes and you got all this power, you want to hear what the community wants. And I talk to Black people every day. I can give you some ideas. And I really thought it was going to be like that, but that wasn't the conversation they wanted to have. It wasn't, I thought the conversation was going to go that way, like upstream, but really it was a downstream conversation. It was, here's what we need you to tell Black people to do. We need you to, the president and the White House have decided to do this. We need you to go out and tell Black people to do it. And I'm the kind of guy, I'm like, why would they do that? You know, like they would come to me with
did
just.
It make sense though? Right. What they asked you to do?
No, a lot of it did not make sense.
What were they asking you to do?
At one point, it was supporting Elena Kagan for the Supreme Court. Elena Kagan is a Jewish woman. She's Jewish. She's a woman. She's from Harvard, and I think that I really suspect that she might be gay. Right, so she checks a lot of those boxes. Right, yeah. But what I remember saying to them is, I said, no, Obama. We've never had an African-American woman on the Supreme Court. We still have not had an African-American woman on the Supreme Court.
Right.
I said, Obama promised Dorothy Height before she died that he was going to put a Black woman on the Supreme Court. Why is this not a Black woman? And with Elena Kagan, what a lot of Black journalists had found out was that she had this really racist hiring record. She'd hired all the years she was at Harvard. For 6 years, she was the dean. She hired 32 people. 30 of them were white males. One was a white female. The other one was an Asian person. She did not hire one Black person, not one Latino person, not one Native American person the entire time. I said, the KKK couldn't have a hiring record worse than this. Why are you asking me to support a racist? And I just told him, no, like, fuck off. Like, this is bullshit. This is stupid. And so, as you can imagine, there weren't any more conversations after that. Yeah. But that's what it is.
What about Eric Holder?
I think Eric Holder, he was cool. Like, I don't have anything against these people. I don't. I understand it. It's like you're in this position where your ability to do certain things is somewhat limited, but I don't think they're honest about that. I think that, and to some extent, it's not all Obama's fault. I feel like we put that on him. We made him into the Black Jesus, right? And he just received it. And politicians have a good way of making you think that they are in alignment with your vision of how they're going to use their power when really they're not. And so I don't put it all on Obama. I don't dislike the man, but it didn't take me long to say, okay, this ain't it. This ain't gonna, so generally I can't lie about my experience, and there's more experiences I had, just
was it all negative though, or was it all?
It wasn't all negative. If you like, babe, if you want to get on the mic, you can go.
She
keeps talking. She's talking to the backseat.
Let me give you guys an update on where we are. So Trump wins North Dakota, Trump wins South Dakota, Texas, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona.
Wait, Trump won
Michigan and Wisconsin.
Texas. I'm sorry, Trump won Michigan. Texas, but polls closed in battleground states, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona. But he won North Dakota and South Dakota.
I'm gonna drop off and go watch the rest of the results. Y'all have a great discussion.
I'm gonna drop off too. Thanks for the conversation, but yeah, we should all be doing what Cube did. Y'all have a good night.
All right, see you later, sis.
So we're at 154 Electoral College
for
Trump and 30 for Harris. So I'm getting a little nervous.
You said Michigan?
No. I didn't mean Michigan. I'm sorry. Polls close in Michigan. I'm sorry, Wisconsin and Arizona. So Arizona, right now we're looking at Wyoming. We're looking at North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, and West Virginia for Trump.
Listen, the AKA is gonna be upset if Kamala don't take this home. A lot of Jamaicans gonna be upset. My parents in Jamaica right now. Vacationing, honey.
They've been strolling.
Indians too, right? Because she Indian.
Oh yeah, I actually went to an Indian party on Halloween, and I was asking them, I'm like, hey, what was that? It was like a Bollywood Indian party, and I was like, hey, how did you feel about getting a vote for Kamala? And he was like, I never thought I'd be voting for somebody East Indian, one of the party goer attenders. So it's interesting, identity politics are very strong in this country, and so she gets to check out.
If people are irritated with Kamala. I'm being corrected. Kamala, because of the fact that she's a woman, or like the questionable blackness? Like what is like more of a hurdle you think, Dr. Boyce?
I think it's both. I think that we do have a country that won't accept a woman as president the way that we should. I think that she's definitely qualified. If I were in alignment with her politics, I would definitely support her. Is there anything that you do support? I mean, in terms of what she's talked about, is there anything?
You need to go. Because you'll come to me and you'll say, oh, I did a video about Kamala. And I say, okay, don't tell me it was negative. And you'd be like, she did this and I hate this. And I'm like, well, could you do a video about maybe student loan forgiveness, how that could help Black people? That's my challenge to you.
I appreciate it. Now do your challenge over there in your microphone. Step away, man. Step away. Right. That's right. Eat the cake, anime. All right. So I would say that with Kamala, it's more so. I do think that being a woman and a woman of color is I don't call her so much a Black woman. I just can't. I don't feel that way. But being a woman of color, I think that those are obstacles against her 100%. I guess the question would be, if Kamala were a man, let's say she were an African American man, how would I feel different? I still wouldn't support her because I'm not in alignment with the Democratic Party anymore. I think that they just kind of went too far to the left, and it's not comfortable for me anymore. And I think it's okay to say that. I also think that overall, though, I think as a country, we do have some work to do in terms of respecting the leadership abilities of women. And so if Kamala does win, I'm not going to be mad about it, because number one, I think Black wealth is not correlated with who's in the White House. You know, we were broke under Republicans. We're going to be broke under Democrats. The people that are doing well, that are making good decisions, are going to do better. The Asians kind of show that, right? It's what you do, not what they do. But then also, I think she will represent the country better. I think Trump is a narcissist. He's a prick. He kind of just says, he gets up there and just rambles on, and he doesn't listen to it.
He doesn't have a cohesive word. This man talks about my white skin. It's my white skin's so beautiful. He imitates fellatio, and like he's just up there just doing and saying just anything. And the fact that this man at this moment in history has 154 electoral college votes, 30 is scary as shit.
Yeah,
Vince Washington
it is. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
Vince Washington in the chat said he just wanted to let you know, Dr. Boyce, that he wrote you in as president and Dr. George C. Frazier as vice president.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll say that I think it's
y'all would be assassinated immediately. But get the reparations in before y'all go.
I know, right? I know, absolutely. I don't want that job. But you know, I think it's kind of like I think in a way it's an easy argument to basically say you should support my candidate because the other candidate is an unbelievably crazy, ignorant choice, right? Because people don't have good options. So a lot of most Trump supporters, I find that I know, they're not really voting for Trump. They're just voting against the Democrats. And most Democrats, you know, if you ask them, well, is this who you'd really pick if you could really have a president that you wanted? They wouldn't. They're not necessarily in love with Kamala Harris. They just find Trump to be appalling and disgusting, which he, you know, pretty much is. So I just think that that's the problem. Trump, and so if you ask me like what I like about Kamala, I would say I like the fact that she's presidential. I like having a smart person representing the country. She's going to be polite at all the international gatherings. But then what do I like about Trump? Well, you know, I think we can't call all masculinity toxic. We got to the point where anytime a man shows up and does things that men kind of do, we're like, oh, that's toxic. That's bad. I want somebody. Sometimes you need somebody that's going to have them balls to go in there and just be, you know, like the guy sitting there, or the person, the woman, man or male or female sitting next to Vladimir Putin has to be as much of an asshole as Vladimir Putin, you know, right? No, but not to say Kamala can't do it though, right? Because she was a prosecutor and she's very tough also, right? So I don't hate her, but I think also in terms of policy, I really need to understand what happened with the border. You know, how do we get all these illegal people in Chicago moving into black neighborhoods? What the hell? And why are they getting more money than us? I think that is a legitimate point that's being ignored by the elite, because the elite are not living in those neighborhoods in these major cities where this is happening. I think that is not just disrespectful to black people, but it's a national security issue, and it's going to affect us at some point, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm just watching this. You know, I'm into these. I'm doing Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan, and I'm watching the Civil War. I've been on a military kick, and one plot point for one of these shows I've been watching is that they had to do an ops because there were some Al Qaeda people that got snuck in to Texas on the Mexican border. And I'm watching this Lioness show with Zoe Saldana, and they're like CIA operatives, and they had to go do this exercise and things. But it was a real thing because of these open borders, that these people think, oh, it's just the Venezuelans and the Mexicans, but you got people coming in from Afghanistan, you got people coming in from Iraq, and this is a real threat to national security, that, you know, that these things could happen because these folks were not vetted properly.
Yeah, you can't. America's not a country that can leave its back door open. We've done some terrible things. Like we're kind of like the gangbanger in the neighborhood that's killed a bunch of people's relatives. And so we got a whole lot of enemies out here, like children that grow up that remember 20 years ago when we bombed a daycare in Afghanistan, you know, and they spent their whole life thinking, how am I going to get revenge on these people? I want them to experience the same pain that I felt when my whole family got killed. I personally think that that's going to eventually affect us. I think that those chickens will come home to roost, and it's going to come back in a terrible way. And I think that they're having a wide open border. In fact, if you Bloomberg wrote a really deep article where they explained that in Chicago, a lot of the murders that are happening in Chicago are directly connected to drug cartels that are illegally coming across the border. You know, the Sinaloa cartel and El Chapo and all that shit. Like that's coming through Chicago. Like Chicago's seeing that in real time because we're a distribution hub for drugs. And I would just like for these conversations to be had instead of us just being like, oh, it's no big deal. No, don't ignore that stuff.
Well, and then everybody's in an uproar right now in Chicago about Brandon Johnson. He's basically said he's going to raise the taxes. He's proposing to raise taxes, and that's directly because there's like a $30 million budget shortfall, and so this is related to them giving all that money to the migrants.
Yeah, actually, I thought it was more like $1 billion or something.
Yeah,
like just in Chicago's, similar
30
to
billion, yes.
Yeah, it's similar to a lot of cities, and I think it's just kind of like, are we really trying to solve real problems? One thing that neither candidates really mentioned at all. And actually, I know you and I, Dr. Charm, are talking a lot, but I'd love to get the other lady's opinion on this. But the national deficit is like growing like crazy. The debt is massive, and the deficit is really big. And when they looked at Kamala and Trump's economic plans, both of them were going to increase the deficit. And now, actually, Kamala isn't going to increase the deficit as much as Trump's, though, because Trump wants to have all these tariffs, right? And he thinks that that's good, but actually, the economists all say that that's bad. I wonder why we're not talking about the economic future of the country. What do y'all think?
Listen, I did that post today, Dr. Boyce. I know you saw it. I said, regardless who is in that seat, that all of us need to hop on entrepreneurship and get our things together, because that is the only power that we have. I talked about this earlier on the show, that I was like conflicted with my vote, because on one side, for morality purposes, I want to vote this way, but the other side, I was like, maybe if I'm looking at the money, maybe I need to vote this way. So that was a conflict I had up until I actually had to vote. I do think Kamala's plan, while it's well-intentioned, there's always going to be a negative aspect or side to certain things economically, like what she wants to do as far as like housing and rent and all these tax credits that are going to happen. I just feel like with the inflation that we already have, this might make things worse, because what are we going to do? Just print off more money to fund these things and like increase our dollar value? Like, where is this money going to come from? Right. And the people who we should be taxing, somehow the taxes never really make it to them. So it's like it's what I see for America, and I've talked about this before, is I just feel like America is going through what I call like a life cycle of a country. Like when you look at like certain countries, eventually inflation and the costs and resources get scarce. What ends up happening is you end up, multi-generational living. You end up, the cost of housing. People have roommates, stuff like that. We see that in Europe. We see that in South America. We see that in the Caribbean. So I just feel like eventually America is shifting that way to where even in some of the housing development plans, like I know down here, Lennar, they're building new homes with like addendums, like attachments to the main house for like elderly parents to live with you or kids to come back home from college to live with you. So I feel like now is like a pivotal time in America to where, okay, America for this long time was this brand new world country. Anyone can come make it and all that, the American dream. And now I feel like we're heading more to like the mature America reality. The reality is that most people won't be able to afford college, because I don't know. Someone told me their child college tuition was like $70,000. I was like, who pays $70,000 to just go to school? Like, I was just like, I remember my grad program was $90,000 for like the 2 years, but I was like, I got a scholarship for that because I was so just the reality that we're faced, unless you are in elite tax bracket and you have a business. These are shifts that are going to be made. Now, what I also think, and I'm going to wrap myself up quickly, is the mentality and mindset of an average American with that rugged individualism that is prominent here. It's going to be a tough shift for most Americans to make. Now, I will say immigrants and people who Europe or people who live in other countries where this is the norm might have an easier time. But when you're used to being able, oh, I graduate 18, get a job, get my own place, do all these things, and now we're seeing that is going to be less likely moving forward. I think that's causing a lot of the civil unrest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that if you look at the stats in America, let's see, what is it? Student loan debts at an all-time high, car loan debts at an all-time high, mortgage loan debts at an all-time high, credit card debts at an all-time high, and then wages are not going up to keep up with the inflation and everything else. And so everything you said is 100% correct, Athena. I mean, it's one of these things where I don't really see how the system can be changed. I don't know how to fix that. I don't have the resources, but I think it's like you better learn how to play the economic game a little bit different. If you're trying to save yourself, like just little basic things like investing for your kids. If you buy them just a little bit of stock when they're young and do that consistently, instead of buying them like Christmas presents and football practice and all that, like as you're paying for that stuff, buy them stock to go with it. Like the same amount of money you spend on BS, put the same amount of money in the stock market on their behalf and put it more on the family's behalf, right? And then that wealth, you give it 20 years, then your kid has plenty of wealth. That means they don't have to go to work if they don't want to. They're going to be financially secure. And financial security means a lot more than just the money part. It affects your mental health, right? I see every time I'll turn on TikTok and I'll see all these Gen Zers that are literally in tears because they can't pay the bills. There was one girl who was like 21. She said, I hate being an adult. I hate it. I want to be a kid again, because she could not afford to live. So we got to give if we yanked every kid out of school and just had them like study for the school of life, like really prepare for the game of life and have somebody teach them how life works, how to pay for stuff, what it's like to run a family, all that would be better for them than whatever they're not learning in the public school system. In my opinion, you got to get your kids ready. These kids ain't ready. This economy's changing.
Kids ain't ready.
Let's go to the polls. Harris wins Illinois, Rhode Island. I think Harris wins Delaware, and I think Trump won Mississippi and Wyoming. We know North Dakota, South Dakota. But really quick, let me show you the map.
Trump wins Louisiana as well.
Yeah, he won Louisiana as well. So let me just show you.
He won Louisiana. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, he's winning those other states. I want to show you what the map looks like right now. So you see all the red states. So they've already those polls are closed. Okay, so it's like, whoa. We look at this and we're like, okay, Trump has 154. Harris has 53. Now, keep in mind, take a snapshot of this. Okay, now let's look at 2020, because I want to show you what it looked like.
Yeah, the comparisons are interesting as to what the states are 2020. Doing.
So, I mean, it's pretty much going to be the same states, right? Do we see anything that's different on here? Except for Georgia was a blue state. Didn't Trump take Georgia this time? Or no, it's still no. We're still
like he's going to take Georgia. It's looking like it.
It's looking like it. But this is pretty much indicative of what we see right now. So none of these blue states are in. And let's see. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois. Yeah, she just got.
Illinois is always blue. Yeah.
Yeah, but Texas is no. He ended up winning Texas because
he did.
Yeah. They were saying that she was gonna take Texas, but
Georgia is pretty close, you guys, because it's like he's at 52%, she's at 46%, but they have 73% of the votes in at this point for Georgia.
Interesting. And last election, Georgia was blue,
and that was the first time Georgia turned blue in 30 years. Was 2020.
So it's interesting how things are shaking out. And so, it makes you a little nervous because you're like, but I mean, this is indicative of how people vote anyway. Pretty much, we're seeing that people just really vote along party lines. They're not really voting for policy. It's more about party. You know, and I mentioned that George Washington said, you know, be very careful of having a two-party system because people will vote party over nation. They will vote party over country. They will not look at the best interest of the country. They'll look at the best interest of the party, regardless of if it's going to destroy the country or not. And so that's, I think, where we are right now is people are more concerned with party than they are country.
I think another issue is that lower voter turnout. Like I helped a friend in Chicago, in Cook County in Chicago, run for judge. She just ran for judge in the spring, and you know they really dealt with a lot of issues with low voter turnout, and it's been trending that way at the polls. And so you always have an issue when you only have a smaller percentage of the population that is actually voting versus who are eligible to vote.
That's a great point. Yeah, I think, well, you know, it's interesting when you talk about voter turnout. I personally am conflicted in terms of whether or not I want to continue to legitimize an illegitimate system. You know, there is political science theory out there that says that abstaining from voting is actually a way to vote. When you abstain, you're voting. You're saying, I'm not going to legitimize, you know, what you're doing here. And it's almost like I remember one time, it's really hard. It's really weird talking to Dame Dash because he does all the talking and he kind of tries to push you into a corner, right? And I don't do well with that. I don't respond well to that. And so one time we were just talking, having a friendly conversation online, and he kind of reduced the conversation to like two options, either A or B. And I was like, I'm not letting you do that. Like, no, I'm not answering that question because you're not allowing me to have the conversation we need to have. You're reducing this to a yes or no. This is a common tactic they use in interviews. They'll just sort of push you into a corner and have you sort of be forced to say yes or no.
Like a lawyer.
And really, yeah. And if you see what they're doing, the best answer is to say, I'm not answering. I'm not participating because the whole framework, the whole setup is bad. Right. And so I kind of feel like that's what happens in politics. Dr. Anderson says, I think he said that we are allowed to vote. We're allowed to make choices, but not decisions. And so we make choices. Yeah. So somebody else makes the decision of who they're going to put in front of us, McDonald's or Burger King, Coke or Pepsi. And then we get to make a choice. And we really think we're in a democracy. And we're just not. That's not democratic. That's oppression sort of disguised as the illusion of choice. And so, you know, I personally think it's everybody's right to do what they feel comfortable with. I think local elections matter far more. And I think that's where we need the civics class because there are a lot of little local battles that are much more impactful on your life than the broader presidential battle. And then also there are spaces where you do have a lot of power and a lot of control. You know, if you make decisions in your family, in your household, our house ain't no democracy. Our house is a dictatorship. Me and my wife are the king and the queen. We make all the decisions. Everything's top down, you know, and that's how it goes. And so I think focusing on that is probably a better use of energy than worrying about this national election.
But, you know, Dr. B, when you say to abstain, you know, when I think back to seeing pictures of my Black people, family being hung from trees because they voted. It's our duty, I believe, because too many of our people have died. Now, you don't have to vote for the president. You can vote in your local politics. But I think that, you know, the sacrifices that our forefathers and our foremothers made, absolutely vote. You don't have to vote for the people that you don't want to vote for, but go out and exercise that because our people have sacrificed. And I love Black people too much to let them down and let their deaths go in vain to not vote.
That part.
Hey,
Jade.
Lioness Queen. Jade. Lioness Queen.
Please.
Jay, Miss Lioness Crown is on the show. What's up?
Thank you. Can y'all hear me? Can I be heard?
Yes.
You heard it sing, looking wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Likewise, Dr. Charm. Hey, Athena. Oh my gosh, Dr. Voice. And of course, Constance, my sister. Listen, I just logged in to do a check. I just want to do a wellness check. Is everyone okay? Is everyone okay? Do I need to?
No, Jay, we're little nervous because the votes coming in, but once Constance put that map up, I was like, okay, I can relax a little bit.
All right, so I wanted to do a wellness check, and then also I have not been plugged in or tapped in much. I'm on the West Coast. Shout out to the West Coast.
West Coast, West Coast.
Yeah, and so polls are starting. They haven't even closed here yet, right?
No, Tiara just voted 10 minutes ago.
Okay, got you. Yep. So the polls are open for another hour and a half, so it's just way too soon to call. I would suspect that we could have a repeat of like what we dealt with Bush, when it took like a week to sort of confirm those results. My only concern is if that happens. Yeah, I know, right? If that happens this time, people are not in an emotional or mental space to wait. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But then also I've been like actually working because I know that whoever wins the presidency, these Black issues that we have in schools and in society, we still need to work on them. And I have not allowed myself, I'm very proud of myself. I want to dust my shoulder off. I have not allowed myself to become distracted with my emotions around this election. I've really been out in the field doing work. So y'all can also fill me in. I'm here to learn and listen, but I haven't been paying attention much because I've literally been trying to do what Black kids need for us to do today, tomorrow, and next week.
Jade, I have a question. So when the Black men were, upset and Harris was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do to rally the Black men because, they were perturbed. Do you think that was just, a nothing burger, like just I'm gonna promise you guys these things, but you think that her campaign has no probability of even like coming through in anything for like Black men or Black agenda?
Well, I believe that it got to a point where she could not ignore or continue to ignore Black men. Absolutely. It got so bad and so much pressure was put on the Democratic Party where they could no longer say that, oh, y'all are just bots, y'all are just trolls, y'all are just misogynistic and toxic masculinity, and this is just a fringe group. She had to make some sort of statement. But to answer your question, based off of what I think and feel, I mean, I'm not a part of that campaign. I think that it was just political fluff. Quite frankly, she needed to make a statement and say something that could appeal to Black men. And others, right? So that they wouldn't be left out of the conversation. Whether I believe or have faith in terms of whether VP Harris and her administration would potentially act on any of those campaign promises, no, absolutely not. I don't think that campaign will act on any promises made to Black folks any more than I believe that the Trump campaign will act on anything that would benefit Black folks. I didn't vote for either one of those.
Okay, let me update y'all real quick. So there was a hoax bomb threat made in several battleground states. Now, I'm going to ask you in a minute after I tell you this. Why do you think? Who do you think is making these bomb threats? Why do you think that it's so important for these bomb threats to happen? Why are they burning ballot boxes? Why are they trying to stop people from voting? And who is behind this? Are these Trump supporters? But Harris won New York. So that's where we are. And so the Electoral College votes are at, where are we at? 168 Trump, 62 Harris. And then the Senate, 34 seats for the Democrats, 44 for the House. They need 50. And then for the, that's the Senate. And then for the House, 105 for the Republicans and 69 for the Democrats. But about all these bomb threats and, them burning up the ballot boxes and making threats to the people out there. And then I don't know if you guys saw where they said there was a credible threat to Black women from now until inauguration that they were saying, and Black women needed to watch their backs. Why do you think it's such a big deal for where all these people were, they're trying to stop the votes? What's the problem?
I have no idea. I just, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I get tired of like all these dog whistle announcements where it's like the threat of violence. I mean, at some point, show me something that really happens. Like everybody, seriously, I mean, I hear so many people talking about how dangerous the Trump supporters are. They're all going to come kill us and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, show me where a Trump supporter, went to a Black neighborhood and just killed 300 people. Like I just want to, I mean, I'm not that I'd want to see that, but I'm like, show me something. Like, stop telling, it's almost like we talk about what might happen, what's going to happen, what could happen, what somebody threatened to do. Well, show me where somebody did something. I just think it's all a little bit of a distraction designed to keep us afraid. I don't know if everyone else feels that way, but I don't respond well to fear. But when you show me something that really happens, like for example, even during the pandemic, when I saw real people die from the virus, I said, okay, this is very real. But then I also looked at the percentage of people that were dying, and I said, okay, it's a threat, but it doesn't mean everybody's going to die, and I can still live my life, and I'll probably survive. It didn't mean I was guaranteed, right? It doesn't mean I had a problem with other people's way of reacting to it. But when it got real oppressive to the point where people were forcing their view onto me and to others, that was really awkward. That was very uncomfortable for me. I didn't feel like I had a choice anymore. I felt like I was living under like a really fascist kind of regime. When they took down they took down my social media. I had 680,000 Instagram followers. They just took my whole account down. And it was only because I was exploring all ideas instead of just believing whatever the hell you tell me to do. So again, this goes back to that point when people talk about democracy being stolen. I think it was already stolen. I think that during the pandemic, there was very little democracy happening during the pandemic for sure.
Anybody else? What's the problem? Because if they're always talking about our vote doesn't count anyway, well, what's the big deal? Why are they trying so hard to either block Black people from voting, challenge the voting, challenge the validity of the people who are voting? What's the big deal? Why are they doing this?
I mean, but they always try to block Black voting. I mean, so that's just par for the course. I would be shocked when they don't try to block Black voting.
True. Yeah. Well, what's interesting. What's interesting to me though is it's a mixed bag, because you've got, on one hand, you've got people that are really working to get Black people to vote, right? Running voter drives and all this other stuff to make sure we get out there, booties to the polls, souls to the polls, all this stuff. And then on the other hand, you got those people that are like, no, let's keep those Negroes out of the ballot, away from the ballot box. And I just find that like back and forth really interesting. And it's almost like I see it as like, okay, you really want me to vote as long as I do what you want me to do when I get there. If I was going to do something if I was going to do what I wanted to do or something that was different from what you told me to do, you really don't want me there. And here's the other thing that's interesting. Melina Abdullah and Cornel West, those are the only two politicians I wanted to talk to. I didn't really want to. The Kennedy guy reached out. I told him no thanks. I wasn't interested.
Sorry, Doc, just fun fact. I took my mom to her eye appointment, minding my own business, went to Outback Steakhouse. Who do I see? Oh, RFK Jr. We had a conversation. That was like my third time meeting him, but I just wanted to name that. That was literally a couple days ago. But yeah, I didn't really have much to say about politics when I met him. If vaccine stuff, yes, all day long, but it was interesting. But yeah, I'm with you on the Dr. West and Dr. Abdullah train.
Well, what threw me off was when they were honestly talking about how they legally got on the ballot in certain states, and the Democratic Party would sue them for just to drain their resources, right? Just to make sure that Black people don't have any choice other than the one that they want us to take. That to me is corruption. I don't like that.
And they just show such blatant disrespect for Black people. I am still flabbergasted with the Cardi B, with the Glorilla. Glorilla had to bleep out about the entire performance. Megan Thee Stallion, and what got me about Megan, and I just watched her documentary, which was very touching on Amazon Prime, was that this woman has a bachelor's degree in healthcare administration. I mean, Kamala Harris, one of the big things she's talking about is the access to healthcare. She's, piggybacking off of Obamacare. Megan Thee Stallion could have got up and gave a speech about healthcare in the Black community when she was, but no, she was up there like lazy twerking. And it's just the lack of respect that's shown for us is so egregious. And we've just been relegated to them thinking that that's all we care about is who's going to twerk the best. And it's really disrespectful.
Yeah, it's almost like they look at our community as a community full of children. You know, people with low intelligence, very little discipline. You know, and just this ratchet behavior, and it's really difficult to be the kind of black person who's trying to switch out of that generational curse, right? Or who's trying to help black folks grow up. And it becomes a battle where you got to fight against not just the racist white people who are compensating black people to act like ignorant individuals, but you're also fighting other black people who are addicted to the ignorance, you know, who think that you're being uppity because, you know, because you are a black woman who isn't going to lead ass first, you know, or or think that you're square if you're a black man who actually does care about the black family or wants to be intelligent, right? And it's a hard battle. I had to fight that battle my whole life. You know, a lot of the black men I grew up with did not have good lives. I'm talking about drugs, alcohol, incarceration, not taking care of your kids, all these stereotypes. And so when I was sort of like, I don't want your life. I don't want to be where you at. You know, I got a lot of resistance, you know, like almost like you're acting white or something's wrong with you. Or like if I wanted to go study, because I almost pledged a Q in college. I was going to be a Q. And the Q's on my Q? I was gonna be a Q because my
I could see that. I could see Doc being a Q or a Sigma.
Is that what they do? I don't even know which one they. I don't remember what the.
Don't do it.
I got my purple on. I respect the Qs. Much love for the Qs, but Lord, the guys on that campus, at that time, the stuff they were doing was so just directly self-destructive. I said, y'all gonna get locked up. Y'all gonna catch AIDS. You know, like they had done some. I'm talking about they had done some like straight up sex trafficking on that campus. I kid you not. You know, like, and I was like, I don't want to be a part of none of this. Like, what's wrong with y'all? You know, and I would get made fun of because I was the guy that wanted to go to the library at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, and it made me sad.
You know, I was an alpha, maybe a kappa, but Q. That's
not a Q. One of my friends went to, because I went to FAMU, and I went to the Q Dog house. I used to go to all the alpha parties. Went to Q Dog house once, and it was so ratchet in there. I never went back. And one of my friends went, and she said somebody licked her leg at the Q at the Q Dog party. And my daughter's father's a Q, so I'm not ragging on Omega Psi Phi.
Oh,
but y'all
Lord, your daughter father was
if y'all don't mind.
I just kind of feel. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Please go ahead. I cut you off.
I was going to gracefully try to change the subject. If that's okay.
No, I think I'd like to know your opinion about the subject, though, Jay. What made you think what made you want to change it?
Well, I wanted to change it because I know folks know all of the Divine Nine, and I'm also very mindful, you know, as Dr. Voice has coached me pretty well, you know, in business I'm a consultant, I'm a media consultant. I'm very mindful of just one little clip about anything that could offend anybody, which is people are bound to do that anyway, right? But
her audio went out.
That was the Q Dogs that did that.
Yep, they did. Intel Pro. That's what that was.
I'm done. But no, I have a lot of love for the brothers of the Omega Psi Phi and brothers and sisters of all the Divine Nine, and I wanted to recuse myself from that part of the conversation. So
I get that.
I'm literally leaving y'all to dry on that conversation.
Yeah, unfortunately, things happen on college campuses, and things happen in organizations, all organizations, right?
True.
And individuals make up organizations, and individuals, you know, have autonomy. They can think for themselves, make their own decisions. And then oftentimes when you have a few bad actors in any organizations, it could put a stain on said organization. Same thing with racism. You know, we may have some folks that may be a little touched in our community, but those folks, like those bad behaviors, get the spotlight, and then it sort of could, you know, put the rest of us under a stereotype.
Yeah, you so PC. I love this response.
Oh, thank you. You know, I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I'm take after you, Dr. Charm. You know, you're.
Oh, I'm not PC at all.
Well, you know, I think that we can do both, right? I think that we can say, look, I love you enough to have an honest conversation that there are some there's something that's not quite right with our culture. There's some areas where, you know, some things that we think are okay are just not okay. Like it's not okay that 76% of our kids grow up without a father in the house. Kids need the protection of a father. What's going on? What's happening here? Why are we the only group? I don't know. I mean, is there any other group of people on the planet that has a higher rate of fatherlessness in the house than Black people? I know that there's the studies that say that Black men are involved with their kids even when they live outside the house. But I can just tell you, maybe I sound old fashioned, but I cannot imagine my mother or my father being as effective of a parent if they lived down the street instead of being in the house every day. You know, and imagine if 76% of our kids grew up without a mother. You know, the men would be the men, especially the men and the women, would be screwed up. But can you imagine what kind of men you would run into? Think about dealing with a man who had no relationship with his mother or hated his mother. He would probably not be very good as a person for you to marry, right? So I think that just that missing father piece is something that we have to have a conversation about. Nobody will really talk about it because everybody's being told that it's okay. Oh, because you're Black, you don't really need to have a daddy anyway, right? Or if you look at what goes on in hip hop, the kind of behavior amongst like Diddy's going down for sex trafficking, but there's 35 years of just overlooking very blatantly illegal and unhealthy behavior within hip hop culture. Not all of it, but a lot of it. I still remember watching because I grew up with this. I grew up with the Snoops and in terms of watching them when they're the same age as me. And I remember thinking, man, like this man's running around and being rewarded for saying we don't love them hoes. And he had a pimp. He had a sex trafficker, a pimp with him everywhere he went.
Bishop Died Magic Wine from the West Side.
Yeah, and that was considered cool. And and as a young man, that was confusing to me because I'm like, so wait a minute. So me sitting here in grad school, busting my ass to build a future for myself, that makes me a nerd that's acting white. I'm a square, but you like that guy who's gonna beat your ass, kill you, abandon your kids, and kill himself in the process? Like I just really think that that's just a conversation that doesn't get had, but we see the effects everywhere, and because no one addresses it, it just sits there.
And the irony is, Snoop Dogg has been married to his wife for over 30 years. He is a little league coach.
Yes.
And is an extreme family man. So even though I know he has scandals with cheating on his wife and everything, but still, regardless, this man has been in the home with his children for 30-some years.
He got an outside child too. But I do want to say,
oh, and the lawsuit. A lot of people don't know about the lawsuit where the lady he was actually sued for something with a woman.
Well, that's why him and his wife got back together, because she had filed for divorce because of the cheating, and then when the rape allegation came out in the lawsuit, she said, I don't believe he did this. This is not the man I know. And then that caused them to reconcile.
Well, she probably got him back because I don't believe that daughter is his. But on another note, Ohio, Trump wins Ohio. Also, Florida, there was a weed law, a marijuana law that didn't pass in Florida. I don't know if you guys know about that. So
but Florida, the abortion law didn't get passed.
So, right. And that's why I was going to segue to this topic before I had to hop off. We were talking about the Divine Nine. Shout out to the Divine Nine. These were the top 15 ballot measures that were on this presidential ballot in these different states. So there was multiple abortion ones. Definitely the Florida Amendment 4, which was the Right to Abortion Initiative. There was the Southwestern swing states, Arizona and Nevada. They also had Right to Abortion initiatives. Nebraska had Initiative 434, which was competing abortion initiatives. This is like a whole, this is like a big issue this term. Also, Texas and San Francisco had abortion measures. There was an Alaska repeal top 4 ranked choice voting initiative. Also, Colorado, Idaho, and Nevada had a ranked choice voting initiative. So that would allow for open primaries if you're not a Democrat or Republican, but then also on ranked choice voting, people could check more than one candidate and then they would tally it up somehow. Arizona also had electoral systems amendments. DC had a ranked choice voting initiative. We want open elections. So I couldn't vote in a primary because I'm an independent, for example. So hopefully that will change. Also, non-citizen voting ban amendments were in 8 states, and those 8 states are Idaho, Iowa, Kentucky, Missouri, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Wisconsin. For example, the other initiatives are Ohio Issue 1, redistricting a commission. California had Proposition 36, which is very, very, very controversial. I hope we can talk about this. The Drug and Theft Crime Penalties Initiative. And that is basically, it would make, there was a Proposition 47 that was passed in 2014, which reduced penalties for certain crimes such as theft and shoplifting of goods valued at no more than $950. So it wasn't criminalized as much, it was like a misdemeanor. And so they're trying to get rid of that and say, look, all these people are doing snatch and grabs. We want to prosecute these people. So Proposition 36 would change those policies. So if you have goods that are less than $950 that you're stealing, that you can be prosecuted for that as a felony, and there's other things with that as well. And then
I want to ask you this. Well, wait, let me jump in. There's a lot of information. I want to ask you this. Who decided it was a good idea to let people go in and just steal stuff and not get prosecuted? Who came up?
What's up with that?
That was weird to me when I would see those videos of people just running in the Gucci store and grabbing everything and nothing happens to them.
And who thinks that he should be the next president?
I don't understand. Where did that come from? Like, is
that's something happened in the last election that they had in California.
I got to answer to your question in the background, Dr. Boyce, from the genie in the kitchen with the smoked crab legs. Yes, smoked crab legs. That's a thing.
Nice.
Apparently, they enacted that because of overcrowding in the court system. So there were so many cases that were coming through the court system at the time that were like, yo, we can't try all of these. And so I guess they enacted that because they wanted to try spend court time on more serious crimes so that they wouldn't be backed up. But I don't think it was ever a good idea for people to just go out and steal, but I get your point.
Yeah, it was weird to me to go and I went into a store in New York and the guy I said, why is everything locked up? I was in Staples and everything was locked up. And he said, because people would just come in and just grab stuff. And he said one guy filled up a whole grocery bag full of stuff and he just looked at us like he was staring right at me while he did this because he knows you ain't gonna do nothing about it. And I'm not used to living in a world like that. I think that's crazy. That's so strange. I hope that they kind of fix that. Like I think we need a little bit more of a balance. And I think criminal justice reform, to me, would maybe start with going into the prisons, too, and really looking at how inhumane the conditions are inside the penitentiaries. Like they don't want the inmates to get educated. They're extracting every penny of wealth from them. There's a lot of sexual assault happening in prison that nobody's talking about. And I just think that they should go clean that up, like rehabilitate these individuals, because you're really sending a person away worse than they were when they went in. And then they drop them off in our community and we got to deal with somebody who is heavily traumatized from this horrible experience. So I think criminal justice reform should not just be liberals getting all upset because one guy gets shot, where we get into this, almost like this idolatry where you have the George Floyd mural and everybody's talking about George Floyd. But the same time Floyd gets killed, there's like some little 9-year-old girl on a bicycle that gets shot in Chicago or New York, and nobody says a word because everybody's focused on that one case with that one guy, and it's all symbolism. That's 100% symbolism. There's nothing systematic about the remedy, in my opinion, that's really going to make sure this goes away. I don't think any black men were safer after the George Floyd thing. I think that it only made things worse in certain ways, in my opinion.
Just to update, Trump wins Kansas, which is typically a red state. So that's where we are with Kansas. So the polls are just a closing. And Kamala has New York. Trump has Ohio, Kansas. These are all indicative of how people are voting historically. So there's nothing new here.
So all this fanfare about how we need to go vote and this is, this is life changing and stuff. Everybody just voting according to plan, to state or whatever. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
I think it's interesting that it's such low numbers, because I'm looking at Texas, and the entire state of Texas it looks like it's about maybe 8 million people voted. Period.
How many people live in Texas?
More than 8 million people. We got Houston, we got like 4 million in Houston just by itself. So it's just, it's again back to my point about voter turnout and everybody.
Why is voter turnout so low in America? Because in other countries it's like very high, it'd be like 86%, 90%. Why is that?
System.
Yeah.
Look at Illinois.
Because people feel disenfranchised.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Illinois, Kamala got 2 million votes. Trump got 1.4 million votes. In Chicagoland alone is 8 million people. So
that's interesting. So I read yesterday that over 80 million people as of like 24 hours ago had voted early before election day. And that number was significantly higher than everybody who voted in the 2020 election altogether.
Interesting.
So people are very motivated to come out. And usually when we talk about early voting numbers, that's when we see a really high Democrat voter turnout. Like Democrats they have historically been the ones to turn out early vote. But we've seen the numbers neck and neck in certain states that differentiated the data between Republicans and Democrats that voted early. Like Republicans are very, very motivated. They've been out there early voting, which is something new that we haven't seen as much from the Republican Party.
Well, you know what? If y'all want to make some money, let me ask y'all this first before I mention this. How many of you think Kamala is going to win? Raise your hand. Okay, Dr. Charm. Okay, Athena and Constance. Not you, Jade. You're not sure?
I think it's too close to call. It's too early and it's too close to call. I can't say. It just really depends on these swing states, and then it depends on how good each campaign's legal teams are that would challenge the numbers in every single state. And we know that both campaigns are highly motivated and they're very, very well resourced. Doc, you're the financial expert. I mean, these two campaigns have spent millions upon millions of dollars. We've never seen this sort of money, put into a presidential campaign before. And so that could look like attorneys and challenging every single district where there could be a dispute. So we just don't know. I just can't say.
Well, okay, and I'd like to ask everybody in the audience to answer as well. How many of you think put your candidate, Trump or Kamala? Everybody take a guess, not so much a vote, just a guess, right? So not just who you want to win, but actually who you think is going to win. Put Trump or Kamala in the chat. Okay, and the reason I asked this question is because I'm with you, Jade. I think it's a 50-50. I think it's still a toss-up. But I'm looking at Robinhood and the where you could buy those contracts, right? So if the contract costs 33 cents and it's like a Trump contract, that means every 33 cents you put up turns into $1 if he wins. Same thing with Kamala, right? Did y'all know the Kamala contracts now are down to 23 cents?
Oh shit! I bought too early because I bought at 34 cents. Damn it!
I bought it in the 30s too. I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, I'm buying some more of these. I don't know if she's gonna win, but I am flabbergasted that they have the ratio being so low. Like you can literally 4x your money. So here's my point. I'm saying that if you really believe that Kamala's gonna win, you could 4x your
23 cents.
Yes, 23 cents. You could, so you put up $1,000, that turns into 4,000. Or you put up 100, it turns into 400. I'm not saying do it, but I'm saying if you really believe in your girl and you really think she's gonna win, you can put your money on it. I think that they're biased. I think it's biased because Robinhood attracts a lot of young white males who are into gambling. That's what it does. They say it's an investing site, but it's also a gambling site for a lot of people. And I think that they just love Trump and they are being suckers right now. I think I wouldn't pay 82 cents for a Trump contract, even if I was a Trump supporter. I think that they're overstating his odds of winning. And it really speaks to the delusion, the political delusion that exists in America where people live in these vacuums where so let's say you're around Trump supporters all day or you're around Harris supporters all day. You can get to the point where you believe that no logical person in their right mind would ever support the other candidate. I think that can happen because we all live in these little vacuums. And so I just don't understand it. In fact, actually, as I'm speaking, the Kamala Harris contract went down to 22 cents.
Damn it, I just bought it at 23.
Right. No, it's crazy. Right. So if Kamala wins, I'm about to get some money because I'm buying.
Me too. I'm about to get that money.
Yeah, I ain't buying no Trump
We
contract.
got some more. We have some more West Coast states that came in. Montana is for Trump. Wyoming, Utah, New Mexico is really close. It's like 50% Trump versus 47% Kamala. So it's still too early. But I just wanted to update on some of those West Coast or mountain and West Coast states.
Thank you. I hope y'all are on for a while. My wonderful host, my brother Dewan B, and his beautiful wife Isha, they got some smoked crab legs. Okay, I'm in LA. I've never had smoked crab legs.
With crab legs, there we know.
Why you rubbing it in our face? I want some smoked crab legs.
I'm gonna eat and then I'm gonna come back on. But I do want to have dinner with my host family. They're taking care of me because I was like, oh, I am not in DC right now during the election, and it's my mom's birthday. I'm away from home doing work, but it's nice to be with with my folks, right? So
I didn't know you moved.
Yeah. No, I didn't move. I'll be back in DC on Saturday, but I'm gonna eat, and then I'm gonna come back on in a little while because I know the results are gonna continue to come in. And thank y'all for having me.
All right, Mama. We'll see you in a
later,
minute.
Jade. Bye. Yeah. So okay. So with this election, is there any indicator of like actually who is actually winning? I don't understand these betting markets. So
Trump has all the electoral votes right now. He has the majority right now.
Right, but these are indicative of states who normally vote red anyway. So it's not like anything flipped. There's nothing that's flipped to him from her. It's really going to be up to the swing states because most of the state. So we're just. I think everything is almost in except for West Coast.
Okay.
Your former living area, Constance. We're waiting on former place where you used to live, Constance. We're waiting. So how was it voting in DC? Is it like, ooh, I feel presidential?
Well, I'm in Maryland, but the schools are closed and the companies, a lot of companies are closed. It's like a whole thing out here. Like
wow.
Yeah. So my son didn't go to school. I'm like, why you ain't going to school? He was like, it's election. I'm like, what? So
producer lady, what were the lines looking like out there in LA?
She's stressed out. She's stressed the hell out.
Why did you do that to yourself? Why didn't you early vote?
So I was running this podcast this morning, and then
we can't hear you, girl. Where your mic at?
I don't know.
I can hear her.
Can you hear me?
It's low.
Testing 1 2.
Yeah,
can you
better.
hear me? Mic check 1 2 1 2. Y'all, man, that was rough. There was like it had to be 500 to 700 people in line. Like I literally was in line for at least 2. I don't know how you guys have been on for 2 hours. I've literally been in line the whole time.
That's crazy.
We've been on 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours, and I've been listening since the beginning. I thought I was gonna be in and out.
Yeah,
something that irked me about that whole let's tell black men why they're a bunch of sexist pigs conversation that happened is that if you look at the percentages of black men that support the Democratic Party, 81% of black men identify as Democratic or lean Democratic. Compared to white men, it's 60%, Hispanic men 61%, Asian men 61%. So we literally were being chastised while we are the biggest group of male supporters of Kamala Harris in the country. I think that's so baffling that they would literally be like, have Barack Obama like, well, you disrespecting women and stuff like that.
I think it was because that Trump started to get more black male vote. Because at the end of the day, the projection was 80% of black men were going to vote for Kamala. But looking at what happened in Georgia, she got 73% of the black male vote, and Trump got 25% of the black male vote in Georgia. So, it definitely went up. So I think the Democrats are kind of starting to get shaky and insecure, and with valid reason. And then that's where you had that plan for black men that came out, that rushed plan.
Yeah. I kind of, well, it reminds me of when Trump had his platinum plan. Remember that? And that never turned into nothing. Like, I mean, it's really comical, and I kind of think, I really, if you want to get the men to vote for you, I think that it makes more sense to obviously be genuine and authentic in your desire to really connect and and show support. And I think I think Kamala has an understanding of black men that I respect. But the thing about it is that Trump has a lot of black friends too. So it's not like either one of them is completely out of touch. But the question is, how far are you willing to go to get their support? And what I would really love is I would love to see them really put their money where their mouth is. Like if there was some way that that the men were able to get access to resources. Because I think the black man feels I know personally when I talk to a lot of brothers, they don't feel heard or listened to. Even some black women don't listen to them. They also feel like it's like really hard in certain areas. Not to say it's not hard for women too, right? I think it's really hard for women, and a lot of men should respect that. But as a black man, it's almost like when you are even remotely successful, you're like, oh, I'm so glad I did not fail. I'm so glad. Like I was so happy to make it through the 90s without being dead or in prison. It's ridiculous. Because I knew guys who were dead or got 25, 30-year prison sentences or were marginalized from the economy. And it was just a very common thing. Like, you talk to most of your friends, they were not doing well. And it has a long history, right? It goes all the way back, even the Vietnam War. When I love the fact, one thing I loved about Snoop was he brought it to everybody's attention that, and I have to check this out, but he said the average lifespan of a black man in the Vietnam War was like 18 seconds or something.
Jesus.
And I really felt that because my father talks about when he went to Vietnam and they just pushed him out of an airplane. He was 17 years old. They pushed him out of a plane. He slept in a ditch and he heard all this mortar fire going on. He's losing his freaking mind. And he was just literally like, I'm going to do anything I have to do to get back home because it was like living a nightmare. And the Vietnam War, a lot of men came home on drugs, or they never came home at all, or they came home disabled, or just flat out crazy. So I think that was part of the beginning of the like breakdown of the black family. And then at the same time in the 70s in that generation, Hollywood starts fucking with black people by putting out all those black exploitation pimp movies. And my dad talks about it. He says, yeah, in the when he was in his early 20s, all the young black men wanted to be like the pimps. They watched the Mac and all this other stuff. They wanted to be like Goldie the pimp and all this other stuff. And so really, when you saw what happened with hip hop in the 90s, which is coming out of the crack era, right? We haven't even talked about the drugs they put in the black community, all the weapons and everything else. So that further destabilizes the family. And then they take over hip hop in the early 90s and they start just pushing these terrible messages that are encouraging men to engage in illegal behavior so they can lock them up, to disrespect the women in your households and in your communities, and to make yourself look like an absolute fool. And I think that it was just such a sinister, terrible thing to do, because what then happened, in my opinion, is that the black man, for the most part, kind of became a non-entity in the black family. The black women were like, fuck it, I'll just do it myself because I can't rely on these Negroes. A lot of black women felt that way. And so the women are kind of, handling things differently, right? They're becoming stronger and tougher and more capable and more successful. And so then the black man comes back home. A lot of us, I see it as a coming back home where now that because you have spaces where men can sort of be honest with each other and help each other grow, or like millions of men that have heard from someone like me, well, they never would have heard from me 20 years ago when media was controlled by white people, right? Now they hear from guys like me who are like, come on, what are you doing? This is not the way we're supposed to be. So the men are showing back up. And a lot of them are whole. A lot of them are successful. A lot of them are hardworking. A lot of them want to be leaders on some level in their household, but they feel like they're competing. It's like, oh no, you're just a kid. You sit down and let me take care of this. And I know as a man who wants to be a man, who always wanted to be a man, it becomes like a big battle constantly. And I don't know how to fix it. But I think that they come in and they exploit that, because I think they look at the black community as a purely matriarchal community. It's almost like when somebody comes in the house and they want to talk to your mama or they want to talk to your wife and they just ignore you because they're like, well, she's running the household. She's clearly the boss. Your opinion doesn't matter. So when the black man stands up and says, no, I'm here too. You talk to my wife, you got to talk to me too. They're like, well, who are you? What are you doing? Right. And it becomes a big fight. That's what's kind of happening. I wouldn't let somebody just come in and address my wife and not address me. But
so
I
Dr.
think
B,
Oh, good. I said a lot. I apologize. Go, please.
No. The Harris contract is down to 14 cents right now.
What? No, it's not. You better stop. You better stop. Girl, oh my God.
They don't think she gonna win.
Is it
Didn't
only
you say
on
it's
Robin
based off
Hood? Is it
prediction?
only on Robin Hood?
And then Harris, Colorado.
Wow.
Y'all, Arizona is 49.6% straight up equal tie right now.
Yeah, that's crazy because Arizona's a red state.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay, so what are the updates? I'm sorry, I missed it. What's happening, Constant?
So Harris wins Colorado.
We got to describe the
wins
contract too, so people can know what we're talking about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, on Robinhood, you can basically buy a contract on who you think is going to win the election. So the contracts, the way they work is the Kamala Harris contract right now is unbelievably is 15 cents. That means that for every 15 cents you bet on Kamala, if she wins, you get $1. I'm taking that bet. I just don't. Trump is 88 cents. They really think that there's an 88% chance this man's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's wrong. I think that that's an overestimate. So I'm trying about Red Finn and get paid up in here real quick.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what are the numbers? If it's 15 cents, like, what are the what did I miss?
Yeah, I bought at 26 cents, but I'm gonna go ahead. Should I wait till it get down to 5 cents? Like,
I mean, you know, now mind you, Constance, if we lose, then people are gonna make fun of us tomorrow, or whenever they announce the results. But I don't care. I'm absolutely positively going to buy more of these Kamala Harris contracts just because the probabilities don't match. Like in finance, they call this an arbitrage opportunity. Like I see this as an arbitrage. Like let me buy some more of these damn things. I literally. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
Ted Cruz wins re-election in Texas.
Oh God!
And shout out to Angela Altenbrook's sister in Maryland. She won. She beat out Hogan, who was the former governor, Republican governor of Maryland. She was a county executive for Prince George's County, which is where I live now. She's just won state senate in the state of Maryland.
Nice.
Dope shit.
Nice.
Couple of more blues popped up. New Mexico, Arizona is predicting is leaning towards blue, which is a flip because Arizona is historically a red state.
Did she end up flipping Texas?
No.
Did you say that Texas was a flip? Oh, okay.
Well, earlier it was looking like it, but
no. Arizona's interesting because that was one of the states that they tried not to get Trump on it. Like he had to go to court to get on the ballot. I know Colorado was because they tried to keep him off the ballot. But I lived in Arizona for 13 years, and that was I've always lived in red states until I moved to Illinois.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, this is insane. I'm just looking at
this. Where you at right now? Where they at right now, Doc?
It's 14 cents for Kamala, and you can't. It's really hard to buy the contracts because the price keeps changing so fast, and every time I put in an order, the order's not going through. And I wish there was a way to. That's
crazy.
To put in a bid price. So it keeps on rejecting.
Were they 12 cents, Doc? It's 12 cents.
That's
wait till it hit 5. At this point, you should have let it ride out.
Hell yeah!
Buy another 1,000.
Yeah, if Kamala wins, I'm gonna be smiling. I'm not even into the politics, honestly. I should. This is a money thing. This is a money
shit. Yeah. Hey, listen, good looking out, Dr. B. That was good. This was worth the price of admission right there.
I want everybody to get paid. Shoot, we black. We supposed to have money.
That's what I'm talking about.
We can only do it on I don't have Robinhood as a platform.
Oh, you better go get you. It's down to 11 cents. It went down to 11, then it went down to 13 cents.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah. So I'm a little distracted now. I'm
not mad at you.
I have a question though. So someone made a comment. So Dennis Morgan said, swing state males are not ready for a female president. They are traditionalists regarding women's roles. Do you think men will Dr. Boyce, do you think men are gonna if Kamala wins, is there going to be a frustration among some men that there's a woman president? And do you think that's gonna result in increased violence towards women, or how do you think that would affect society?
I think you're gonna find examples of all these things. But I think at the same time, change is always uncomfortable. So I've never had an issue with women leading. I think that if women were in more leadership positions, we'd have a better world. Because Donald Trump is he's an asshole. He's a narcissist. His ego is outsized, and he may be getting older and losing his mind. So I don't look at him and say, "Oh yeah, that's my guy. I think that's going to be a great president." I'm worried about him. And with Kamala, she's a tough lady. She's credentialed. She's really fought the battles. Again, I don't agree with all the politics, but I think she's very qualified, and I think a lot of men are just going to adjust to that. But there are going to be those men that are going to say, "No, this is terrible." And I think the hard part about women taking charge in certain areas is it's almost the way imagine how a woman feels like if you, let's say you're dating a man and every time you get in the mirror, he's trying to get in the mirror too, or you go in the kitchen and he's trying to come in and cook.
Talk about that.
And he's
That's
getting
pretty good.
Yeah, right. So men, I think, have a right to feel that way too. Like, we're like, damn, like where is our usefulness? And this is where I think emotional intelligence is critical for men, because I think you got to learn how to deal with the fact that you live in a different society than you lived before, and you have to find some way to still maintain your masculinity while at the same time understanding that there is going to be space for women, and you're going to have to negotiate a lot of feelings that come with that. Like that, like feeling emasculated is a very real thing. When you put a man down or disrespect him, I know a lot of men that would rather die than be disrespected. So, like, Constance, I heard you say that one time. You were saying that respect and peace is really important to men.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah. I was like, absolutely. And I wish other people would hear that. When you don't give that respect, it's like it kills everything, right? So it's just hard for everybody. So what this does, in my opinion, is that because it blurs the lines and blurs the roles so much in society, people are just confused in their relationships. That's why you got to communicate like crazy in advance. So you can kind of know, like, okay, we're about to play this game. We're about to work together. We're about to start this business called a relationship. Your job is this, this, and this. My job will be this, this, and that. And it has to be custom made. It can't sort of fit somebody else's template of what a relationship is supposed to look like.
Really quick, in the House, the Senate, Republican was flipped. So one was flipped to Republican. So there's 43 over there and 34 Democrats in the Senate. And then there was one flipped to Republican in the House. Still, that happened a little bit earlier. So 137 Republicans, 89 Democrats. They need 218 to win the majority. And then right now, we're at 91 Electoral College votes for Harris, 178 for Trump. Of course, the blue states haven't come in yet. But do we see any that have been flipped over from one to another from, the last election? It doesn't look like it. So Trump wins Mississippi. Did we already know that?
I assume that will be the case. I can't imagine him not.
Some Nevada polling places have hours-long wait as polls are closing. We knew Trump won Montana and Utah. So that's just where we are. Angela Alsobrooks, and Donald Trump wins Iowa. That was a swing state, right?
Interesting. Well, I mean, maybe the man's gonna win. I at this point, I've invested so much that I don't want him to win.
I mean, Iowa was red state in 2020, so I don't see anything that's been flipped from Republican or Democrat to Republican in terms of what we're seeing right now. I mean, here's what we know: Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado were all blue last year. And those are all West Coast states that haven't come in yet fully. Okay. And then on the eastern part, which is the Northeast, you have Minnesota. That's Midwest, North, right. So you have Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Michigan, which were all blue. I don't know where they are right now.
I think she took Illinois.
Yeah, and Michigan were right there.
Blue.
Yeah, Michigan. You said who?
I said Illinois is always blue. It's a blue state.
Yeah. So Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. Those are sort of in the Midwest. And then on the East, you have Georgia, which I think Donald Trump took. So last election, Georgia went to the Democrats. And then you have Virginia, which is blue, Pennsylvania, which is blue right now. They're really close. If he takes Pennsylvania, because there's 19 Electoral College votes there. New York, she got New York. Vermont, New Hampshire, and what's ME?
Maine.
Maine.
Oh, yeah, right. Maine, and then you have Maryland, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey. So all the East Coast states are all blue states. The big ones though are California, which is 54 Electoral College votes. What else is a big one? Pennsylvania is a big one. Georgia is a nice size one too. So of course we know she's going to get California. Texas, it was a big one. It's not quite as big as California, but that's a monster to get.
Close.
And then Florida, Pennsylvania,
really
what?
Close.
Yeah, Florida is a big one.
Very,
too.
very close.
You said Pennsylvania.
Do we have Florida? Oh, he got Florida, right? So we got Florida.
He got Florida. We got Florida.
For sure.
So she's gonna have to secure all those far east. But Pennsylvania, yeah, that's 19 Electoral College votes. She's gonna need to secure that for sure. And if she can get Georgia, that's a monster too.
Did he already take Georgia? So he did not take Georgia yet.
It's still close, but I mean, they got 85% of the polls. I mean, or the votes are in, and he's at 51%. So it looks like he's going to take Georgia.
But then those counties, what county is Atlanta? Is that Fulton County? What county is that?
Atlanta is Fulton, Cobb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those haven't been voted yet, though. I mean, those haven't been counted yet.
Oh, okay. Well, Atlanta usually is blue. I mean, Atlanta, but the rest of Georgia is red.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, this is there's no landslide here by any means on either part. But it's definitely interesting just for me, just to see these are two very different candidates. You know, one guy is bumbling. He ain't talking about nothing. He talking about his white skin. He's, mocking fellatio on the microphone. He says anything about anything. He doesn't talk about the topics. When you ask him about his policies, he talks about everything else. There's nothing. And then he talks about divisive. He's very divisive. And he talks about how this country's gone to be a shithole and that Black people are eating cats and dogs. I mean, just crazy.
Well, Haitian people are eating cats and dogs.
Well, they're Black. They're Black. They're not African Americans, but they're Black. No. They're Black, but they're not African Americans. So Black people, we are across the diaspora, but they're not African Americans, and so that's the distinction. But I'm just saying that he just says anything about anybody, and for it to be this close, you would think it would not be, and it's just crazy.
But really just says what it just to me. It just tells me where we are in America. Like we would rather have this unqualified man who does say anything. I mean, literally a couple days ago, he said a woman should be shot, but still there's women in the comments that are constantly like Trump 2024. It just it really, really, really is interesting. It's really interesting. Yeah. But I always say, like, leading up to this, I've been just saying that I feel like what Trump got right that I feel like the Democrats did not get right, and I'm going to keep saying this, is that he talks to the base. Like, he talks to his base directly. He says, hey, you, I'm talking to you. I'm going to do this for you.
And he does it for his base.
And the Democrats don't do that. They go, I'm talking to you, but it got to be colorless, but I'm talking to you. But I'm kind of talking to you, but I'm looking this way because I got to talk to them too.
Because they're like, I'm talking to everybody. I want to include everybody. I want to be inclusive.
I want to be I just feel like they feel like they can't. I feel like they feel like they can't. But they can talk to the LGBT community. They can talk to Asians. They can talk to other Hispanics. But they can't talk to us directly because for whatever reason, if they start to talk to us, who are very much part of their base, for whatever reason, they feel like they will lose the rest of everybody else. And
we are their base. And the thing about Trump is a nationalist. He caters and panders to his base. But the thing is that he delivered to his base. He did what he said he was going to do for his base and their value system. And that's why he's still in the running. And as far as Democrats, we are the base of the Democratic Party, and they refuse to do anything for us.
Well, they just can't. They can't. I mean, not they can't. I don't mean that. They can. They just have to do it by way of like colorless policies. Did I benefit from healthcare? Absolutely, I did. Did I get Obama's student loan income base rate thing? I did get that. Like, there are things that have benefited me for sure. Let's keep it funky, but like, I'm just saying, it just kind of has to be like, Black people, I'm talking to you. You're gonna benefit from this, but I just can't say you're gonna benefit from this. I feel like that's what Democrats do. It's colorless policies. But they have them. They have them. Kamala has said a lot of colorless. I mean, she said, I'm not saying I can do things specifically for Black people, but that was part of a statement. Like, that wasn't the whole statement, but I do feel like she talks to us. And there's part of this like whole Black man thing where it became, I don't know, it's like something happened in the wave where she was like, okay, maybe I can say something and put together an agenda for Black people without the rest of the base feeling like, oh, why are you just focused on Black people? I don't know. I mean, I think they just tossed that out and they waited a little longer, but I don't necessarily think it was like, maybe like towards the end of the, the campaign that kind of like push things out so it wouldn't affect or
it was reactionary because it came right after Obama talked down to Black people, and it was uproar all weekend on social media, and then by Monday morning, hot fresh and off the presses, we had a Black man plan. So it was reactionary.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that
there were certain things that she had been talking about, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say he talked down to Black men like you guys suggest.
He didn't.
I would say that he was answering what a lot of Black men were saying with these loud microphones. Y'all was saying they not doing nothing for Black people. They're not, we're not voting for her. She ain't Black. All the things that all the Black men were saying, he addressed it, in my opinion. And then they said, okay, I think they went to the lab. They were like, okay, what can we do specifically that's going to address the needs of these people? And it's like nothing is ever good enough. So if they don't address it, y'all pissed. If they do address it, y'all pissed. So at what point is what they're doing going to be good enough? Outside of reparations, I know that's like at the end of the day, we need reparations. But right now, we have to just get in, and I think that we can start to have those conversations. But Trump ain't talking about reparations.
And
Trump
we
ain't
still have nothing.
What can she do? What policies can she make? How can she, as the tiebreaker of the Senate, as the vice president, what laws can she pass?
She's the vice president of the United States, and
that
man that she's been in office with is senile. So
what is her job though as the vice president?
Right.
She's a tiebreaker.
I'm still waiting for the white men that became millionaires from earlier. So like, we just still trying to fit like what I would like.
Obama made a million millionaires, and he actually created more millionaires than Bush did.
You said that earlier.
In his first 3 years.
Where's the receipts, ma'am? Where's the receipts, Dr. Charm? Because you said earlier.
I just quoted earlier.
Yeah,
so I just quoted.
Then we asked you, but that's you how or where, and you were like, I don't know. So where is it? I'm
giving you the statistic. The statistic is that he created
information, but
in the first 3 years. Google it. Okay. In the first 3 years, he created a million. That there were a million millionaires created during the Obama administration. The first 3 years.
But how? Like, explain to us how? Where?
I'm not a politician. I'm just giving you the statistic.
Okay.
I want to see that too, because I Googled it and I didn't see where he created a million millionaires.
A
million white millionaires.
Let me get a link. Let me get a link at least for the article. But yeah, he created twice as many as the Bush administration.
Okay.
But you're telling me how. You're asking me how. I can't tell you how. I'm just giving you the stat.
Right.
So now we're on Arizona, and we're at 49.7% Trump, 49.5% Kamala. Trump is 4,270 votes ahead, and but they have 51% of the votes in. So Colorado, she got it. Florida, he got it. Let me see. Georgia, damn, he beat her by 51% to 48%. Maine, Kamala has Maine. Kamala has Michigan. Donald Trump has Minnesota by 25,000. But that's only 4% of the votes in. He has Nebraska.
What state is that with 4%? Only 4%?
Minnesota. And Minnesota is generally a what?
Minnesota
blue.
Is a blue state typically.
Yeah.
Now this is odd because he's leading Minnesota, and your vice presidential candidate is the Minnesota governor.
From Minnesota.
So that
It's
is
only
very
4% of only 4% of the votes are in, but he's about 25,000 votes ahead.
That's interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah, let's see. New
But
Hampshire.
you said it's only 4% though, right?
Yeah, it's
I
only
don't think he'll.
4%.
I don't
Okay,
think
that
he'll win
I wouldn't even pay
Yeah.
attention to that.
Yeah.
He won't win
New
Minnesota.
Hampshire, she's winning by 51%. Half the votes are in. New Mexico, he's at 49%, so he's winning by about 4,000 votes. 36% of the votes are in. North Carolina, Trump, 83% of the votes are in, so they pretty much have that. Pennsylvania, he's up by 115,000 votes. And only 57% of the votes, 115,000. He's up in Pennsylvania. That's the one. That might be the one. Virginia, he's up by 30,000. But it's only that margin's only about 1%. So 72% of the votes are in.
that's really close too.
And then Wisconsin is Kamala, and they're only 1,000 votes apart.
Jesus, that is so close. Yeah, that is very close.
This is close.
And they haven't even cracked 1 million voters on each for each candidate in Wisconsin.
Well, let me jump in. Let me jump in and share some financial stuff that is really interesting about this election. Okay, so we talked about those contracts you could buy on Robinhood, where the Kamala Harris contract is like trading for an astonishingly low 16 cents, which is crazy because that means every 16 cents you bet on Kamala turns into $1 if she wins, right? Which, if the whole assumption of being a 50-50 situation is true, then that's extraordinary. That's unbelievable, right? That's why I bought a lot of Kamala Harris contracts, just because the odds are so far off. However, here's another fact that's really interesting that tells me there's something underlying here that's brewing, that's really actually in Trump's favor. Is the stock market is like exploding right now. The futures market, which predicts what the market's going to do tomorrow, basically is 500 points up. That's massive. That's a big jump. Also, Bitcoin has hit an all-time high of 75,000. Now that's right, and that could be true based on one or two theories. Either one, that there's an underlying, like, just sort of the market's very smart. It's called market efficiency. The market just sometimes because the market's rational and they're not all emotionally caught up in who they want to win. They're just thinking about the money, and they put their money where their mouth is, right? And so because the market is so smart, I think that should be paid attention to, that maybe there's some underlying information that may not be consistent with what media is sharing that pretty much says Trump has an advantage, possibly. Another possibility, though, which is politically neutral, is that the market doesn't like uncertainty. So what happened, if you were following the stock market, and we end up talking about that every day in class, the market was dipping as we went into the election. The reason it was dipping was because there was all this uncertainty and angst about, okay, what's going to happen? Who's going to win? Now that uncertainty is about to be resolved, it's about everybody in here that owns stock, you about ready to get paid tomorrow. So this makes me very happy because I want Black people winning in every election, right? And I think that if you are investing, you're going to win whether a Democrat wins or a Republican wins. It's not going to matter, right? So even if you're a Kamala person and you're upset that Trump's in the White House, well, you'll make a few $1,000s for your discomfort, right? Same thing is true on the other side. I think that no matter which candidate wins, it's going to be a big win for people that own stocks. It's going to be a big win for people that own crypto. I'm going to lose on my Kamala contracts. I'm really worried. I'm really concerned. Like it almost seems whenever something's too good to be true, it usually is. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, what am I missing here? Why is Kamala's contract on Robinhood trading for 15 cents? That don't make no sense, because it should be trading like for 45 cents or 40 cents at least, or 50 cents, right? So I bought a whole bunch of these damn things. I'm talking about thousands of these suckers. So if Kamala wins, then I'm gonna be smiling because I've made some money. If she doesn't win, I'm gonna be smiling because I also own stock in crypto. So I would encourage everybody, like, once you get past all your little arguments about who's the more horrible candidate, Because we don't argue about who's the best. We argue about who's the worst, right? Well, how could you vote for somebody who did it, right? Once you get done doing that, I want you to think about your own pocket and what's going to really work for you. And because I can tell you, I think that Tierra, when y'all were debating about the stuff with Trump and Obama and everything, or Kamala, I think that what gives Trump an advantage is that his cynicism, like his negativity, reflects how a lot of people feel. A lot of people are feeling miserable about the direction of the country. When they do those polls and they say, is America headed in a good direction or a bad direction? Most people say, no, we're headed in the wrong direction. So when he gets up there and he says, this is terrible, that's terrible, she's terrible, he's terrible, they're terrible, that feeds into populist like sentiment, I think, where a lot of people look at these damn politicians and are like, they all suck. But what I like about Kamala is not just that she's more like presentable, like she knows how to act when we have company. Trump will embarrass.
This dude will fart in front of the queen. Like he just has no.
Yeah. He doesn't really.
He is uncouth. He's uncouth.
Yeah, he doesn't respect the presidency in that way, and I just really am a little concerned about what happens when him and Elon Musk get control of the hen house. They're gonna go in there. They're gonna be robbing the piggy bank. And they're just gonna really push things in a direction that's gonna be a little too extreme. But at the same time, though, I'm concerned if the Democrats take power. I know for a fact, I believe Twitter will be heavily regulated because they censor. It's like, oh well, you said something that hurt somebody's feelings or offended somebody, so we're gonna take your account down. And I think that makes us worse as a country too. So I don't feel good about either choice, to be honest with you. I think we have to not avoid the politicians, but almost like we have to succeed in spite of them. We're not going to succeed because of them 9 times out of 10.
I'm really concerned with, in this election cycle, the amount of violence that has just taken place, the amount of actual violence. I mean, I have never been in an election cycle where there was attempts on a presidential candidate's life. The last time we had any kind of attempt on a president was when Reagan got shot. As far as my lifetime. So that's very concerning to me. Just the amount of violence, and people can say it's staged or whatever. You can say whatever you want, but it still happened, and people died during that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. And they had, these people got taken into custody. They had to kill the sniper. So the amount of violence, the amount of radicalization that has gone on. And I don't know if it's going on in these message boards and these white extremist message boards, but you have it on both sides, and it's concerning to me.
Well, Trump is leading in 6 out of the 7 battleground states.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So.
Well, there's that.
But we still don't have.
It didn't say he won. It said he's leading in 6 of the 7 battleground states.
Yeah.
Trump wins 3 of Nebraska's 5 electoral votes. This shit is scary.
Oh,
you know what? I don't know if I'm scared so much as like, it's just it's the circus for me, y'all. Like it's him getting on TV just saying anything. It's us trying to be serious, and clearly he doesn't know how to be serious. I almost feel like he turns us all off to politics so we don't watch it. And then there's really things going on behind the curtain, if that makes sense. Because during his last presidency, I literally watched politics less because I just was like, I just can't do it today. I can't do him today. And meanwhile,
if he wins, it's the whole 4 years is going to be him talking about just bragging about him winning. That's the only thing we're going to hear is about how he won. We ain't going to hear about no laws being changed. We ain't going to hear about no policies. All we're going to hear about is how much that he won and how big his crowd was. That's it. He's clearly a small penis dude because that's all he cares about.
Y'all, I just be glad when it's over. I just be glad when it's over. I'm burnt out. I'm tired. I'm tired of the debates and the arguments and everything else. I just want it to be done because at the end of the day, Black people, they don't care about us.
3 seats were flipped in the House to Republican. So they went from 1 seat flipped to 3 seats flipped. And Senate still has that 1 seat flipped.
I forgot to give a shout out to my cousin since we talking about black men. My cousin, Lil Rick, he was in the chat, or he said
Hey,
he was tuning
cousin.
in. Hey, cousin, Lil Rick. So I just want to give a shout out. I
What's
love
up,
you,
little Rick?
Hey, little Rick.
And while you guys are
And she
watching,
said
I
like
want to
that. My
make sure that
cousin,
you
little Rick. Hey,
I want to
hey,
make
Rick.
sure that you understand that you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you to maximize your money. So we go live every day, Monday through Friday, at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about all good shit. All good shit. The three of us be on here. It's normally 4 or 5 women on here. Sometimes we have Brother Joe on here. He comes on a couple times a week, where we just talk about really great topics that is related to us and you, and we try to have intellectually stimulating conversations about things that we think that matter. So make sure that you subscribe to our channel, Fly Nubian Queen. Dr. Boyce, his what else are we on? His Black Excellence channel as well. And oh yeah, and we are on Spotify, so search for Fly Nubian Money on Spotify. But we love for you to talk back to us and talk black to us. We have a whole lot of fun every single day. So if you want to get alerted when we go live, text words Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. Dr. B just went off for a second. He'll be back on, y'all. So don't get too weary, because we know you love him, and he has some really great commentary and great things to add to the conversation. But I do want to say that that it's getting close. Harris has 91 Electoral College votes. Trump has 210, and I'm in the state of Maryland, so which is cool. Which Angela also Brooks is the first Black woman elected to the Senate in the state of Maryland in the history. So that's that's record breaking. I've been to many of her events and her functions. Really great woman, and she's the count. So out here, there's so many damn cities on the East Coast, right? So you have like 15 cities that are the size of one city where we from on the West Coast. So the cities that they have county executives, which is the mayor of the entire county. So, because everything is kind of based on counties out this way. So she was the county executive of Prince George's County, which is one of the wealthiest counties in the country for African Americans. Now she just went on to the Senate. And my girlfriend, Aisha Braveboy, hopefully she'll be running for her seat. And that should be, it's good stuff for the area. So I'm really, really happy with what's going on. But back to the presidential election. What are y'all thoughts? It says that Iowa, fudge. Iowa 56% for Trump, 43%. And that was a swing. And he got all 6 Electoral College votes.
Yeah. I just want to say this is the hardest I have ever worked on an election night on this live stream, but I am so happy to be here with you ladies tonight. This is great. And it's been really fun. I mean, I got snacks. The chat, right? The chat is lit. Dr. Boyce joined in. Chat been lit all night. So this has been really great.
Been lit.
I love Fly Nubian Queen Network. Excuse me, Fly Nubian Money, and that we're able to have our own platform talk about things that are important to us.
100%. Look what Mello said. Dr. Boyce left to pull his cash out of Kamala's contract. Shut up, Mello. F off, Mello. I'm with Black Lexicon. Screw Iowa. I hope that we see a shift. This is kind of reminiscent a little bit to 2016 when we just were like, of course, what's her name's gonna win?
Hillary. We just knew Hillary was gonna win.
Of course she's gonna win. And then we start seeing red light up all over the place. We're like, wait, huh? And I remember exactly where I was when we were out eating pizza with the family and watching TV. Like, what? Wait, hold up. No.
But part of the reason, Constance, that they said that happened is because they have this Trump voter effect where they're kind of scared to say that they were going to vote for Trump in the polls. And then when they went behind the booth, they went ahead and voted for him, and that's what happened in 2016.
These white women.
These white girls. And don't nobody go off on them. They be going off on the black men all the time. But let's talk about these white heifers that sit up there.
Who benefit from DEI, who benefit from affirmative action, who act like they are our allies. But when they go in that voting booth, they voting for white supremacy.
They didn't even vote for their own girl. I mean, this is their reflection.
Right, right. This is crazy. So, what do you guys think in the chat? Where are you guys hanging out at? What do you think is happening? Who's gonna call it? I know we have a lot of Trump people in here because y'all think Dr. B is a Trump supporter, and he's not. He's very clear he's not a Trump supporter. He's not a Kamala supporter either. But yeah, he voted for Cornel West. But where are you guys leaning? Who you think is gonna win? Not who you want to win, but who do you actually think is going to win? What y'all saying? Terry said there's not enough uncounted Electoral College votes.
True.
Honestly, I don't think America is ready for a woman president. I mean, when is America gonna be ready? It's 2024 already. Like, what do we got to do?
I mean, the polls have been closed almost an hour on the West Coast. Why don't we have any of these West Coast states yet?
Have they been closed? 10, 9, 8, 7. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they've been closed almost an hour. Like, what's up with that CNN?
Y'all just want to have us on edge. Like, I'm just
pins and needles.
Pins and needles, y'all. And listen, oh my God, y'all, listen. The Senate need 50. They have 48 Republicans, 35 Democrats. One was flipped.
This is the marathon. Constance got her snack first, and I went and got my snack. Dr. B got his snack.
Mm-hmm.
Look, this is what you got to do.
We in it for the long haul, man. Listen, California Pines are still open. Oh shit! There she is.
Hey.
You must have went and got her. Did you go get her, Dr. B?
I did.
I had to clean the kitchen up.
So, Dr. Alicia, what you thinking? What do you think is going to happen right now? Where are you hanging out at? Not who you want to, but what you thinking based upon what you see in the polls?
Oh Lord, I don't know. It's a whole lot of red.
I have a question for Dr. Alicia. Dr. Alicia, being that you are our psychotherapist here on the panel, what is your opinion on the possible election burnout and its effect on our individual selves and family and friend relationships? Like, what's your opinion on that from a therapist perspective?
I think this is the longest election cycle in the world that I've ever experienced.
It really feels like it, right?
It is never ending. It is never ending. We got 12 minutes before the top of the hour. It's like creeping by before they come out with some more. I just can't.
People are fighting and disowning family and friends. I've seen people have disowned their kids. This man disowned his daughter of her $1 million inheritance because she didn't vote how he wanted her to vote.
Wow. That's right. And let me tell you, Boyce and I voted today. It was contentious, wasn't it? I gave him a piece of paper and I'm like, these are people you vote for. And he's yelling in the middle of the poll. What did you say? This is voter suppression.
Yeah, this is voter intimidation. Y'all need to arrest this lady.
And
take her to jail, officer.
We have some wonderful people that we know who are running for local elections. And so it was real important for me that we support these individuals in the rain. We got rained on, right? And but it was a very seamless process. And I think I talked about this before. There's a lot of, even though Boyce and I, we don't agree on everything. And here's the thing, like some issues that he feels very strongly about. My thing is like, okay, I'm like this with every issue. I'm open to have my mind change my mind, but you have to give me something compelling. Give me some compelling information. If I'm giving you stats and numbers, you need to also give me stats and numbers. It just can't be logic, because your biases and your assumptions need to be tested. And so I'd like to know what the numbers are. So that was my thing with Boyce, was just like, I'm open to draw any type of conclusion on any issues that we disagree on, but you're going to have to give me a little more than just what Claude Anderson said back in the 80s. Like, not to like, I love Claude Anderson. He's my guy. I've read all his books. I support everything he's about, but I don't think anybody is 100% correct. I think that, you can get up to 90% accuracy with anybody in their position. So that's my thing. Like, and I think you talked about families. I can't. I have never seen two candidates dissimilar. I have never seen people I talk to who are good people who vote for Donald Trump, and some of the words that come out of their mouth, I'm just like, where did you get that information from? Like, I'm very curious about how you draw that conclusion, because I didn't see that same information. As a matter of fact, I'm seeing things contrary. So I'm wondering, like, are we living in a different dimension? Is it a different world? What is happening? Like, I've never seen it like this. So it's really difficult to sit and listen to somebody talk about things where you're just like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, it has to make sense. There has to have some numbers. And I don't see enough of that conversation. Hopefully, no matter what the election, the results will be, I really hope that we have more of these conversations to bring people together instead of being so polarized.
Yeah, look, he said, everyone wonderfully unique said, I have no dog in the fight either, but I'd rather let Trump, a failed businessman, get the economy on its feet before everything changes for the worse. That's interesting, because he can't even get his businesses affairs in order, but he's going to get this economy together. So that's interesting.
I don't know. Like, to me, it's just like, okay, if Kamala Harris had failed business deals and she had 5 children with 3 dads, with 3 men, like, you got to hold everybody to the same level of scrutiny. And that was another issue I had with some family members. They will be, I'm not even going to name them. That was some of my issues. Like, you're scrutinizing one person, but I don't see you scrutinizing everybody. Like,
I just asked Dr. B earlier.
He's a white man. He's not going to be scrutinized like a woman of color or a biracial woman. But I think social media has had such a big impact where we didn't have that 30 years ago, and it's radicalizing people. People are just getting into tiffs and fights with perfect strangers, and so I think it's increased everyone's stress level. I believe social media is exacerbating everything.
Y'all, the Senate has 48 seats out of 50. One was flipped, and the Democrats have only 36. So so they need 50 to win. They're at 48, and then the Republicans need 218. They have 152 Republicans, three flipped, and 207 Electoral College votes for Trump and 91 for Harris. So this is definitely interesting. Pennsylvania Secretary of State says Cambria County is conducting hand count after software issue at the precinct. And the Trump campaign is feeling increasingly optimistic.
The battleground states are the ones we need to really.
They said he's winning 5 out of 6.
Wow.
5 out of 6, then that's not going to look good.
Wow.
For, Kamala.
Wow.
That's sad. It's going to be a sad day.
That will be very sad.
He didn't win, but he is winning. He's leading.
That will be sad for me because all my Kamala Harris contracts won't.
They said it was down to 11 cents. They said it was down to 11 cents.
Yeah, I saw it down as low as 9 cents.
My God.
So here's what's really fascinating is that right now on Robinhood, Kamala Harris is being treated as a mega long shot. Like that she has they're acting like she has a 90% chance of losing this election, which I don't agree with. I think that's I need to find out what information is out there that is making them come to that conclusion. I don't know if there's a bias where where all the young guys that trade and buy contracts on Robinhood are seeing the early lead that Trump has taken. I think right now, I think that I saw a screen that basically showed, here we go. Trump had 210 electoral votes. Kamala has 112, but there's a lot of states not included in those numbers, California and Washington and stuff like that. But it looks like Trump is just dominating, right? And I think that that's a misperception. And so, but to speak on that too, what I think is, I feel like when we talk about this election stuff, I see a lack of rational behavior on both sides. I see, I like when Project 2025 kept getting thrown in my face. My big question was, okay, if they're here to destroy democracy, why didn't they just do it? They had 4 years in office. Why did they take democracy back then? Well, no, they're really going to do it this time. But that's what you tell me every time, that they're really going to do it this time. Or when the Democrats say we're going to do all these things when Kamala gets elected, but but you didn't do it yet. You know, right? Like what? Why didn't you were in the office? You were vice president. You could have did something, right? Not everything you want to do, but something. And you know, so I kind of feel like it's I see lies and propaganda on both sides. You know,
I don't understand what you're saying, because Project 2025 was put out by the Republicans.
Many years ago, Dr. Melina Abdullah mentioned that at the All Black National Convention. She said they've been talking about that stuff for decades. For years, they've
that's
had
a big. I mean, that's a big. You know, that's a big plan. And
it's Project 2025.
People get together and say, "This is what we want." They just put another date on there, but that's the big agenda there. And then they tried to backtrack, but that's the big agenda. So I don't know, I don't know how that's the same.
I mean, but we've already had, but you know, people are they're fear mongering with the Project 2025, but we had the Biden mass incarceration thing, and then the 3 strikes. So those things have already destroyed Black families. So I just think Black people need to not be on this 2025 bandwagon. I think the smartest thing Kamala Harris did was to stop talking about Trump so much and actually start to put some policy out. Because I was just getting tired of everybody, all the Democrats running on, oh, we can't get Trump in. Well, why not? You know, like, we can't have Trump. We can't have Trump because, it's the end of democracy. Like, he's been president before. It wasn't the end of democracy then. So
there were a lot of things that indicated progress toward that area. I think she was put into this election kind of because it's not like she ran and she had something. I mean, she was kind of put into this position, and I think she needed a little time to put her team together to come up with stuff, right? That sets her apart from Biden, but not too much from Biden, because she's still the sitting vice president. So she had a lot of battles there and a lot of things to deal with. So I think that to me, it made sense, eventually when she was able to, just think about it. I wonder how much sleep she was getting. She was going around, she was doing speeches, she was preparing for debates, she was putting a team together. It was almost like everybody expected everything to be put together nicely pretty quickly. And I think that, I don't know, to me, it just made sense when she came out with what she did, when she did, to me, that made sense. At least she listened and responded. So it was an uphill battle for her. I think I just don't see it the same way.
Well,
somebody in the comments said,
what'd you say?
Ricardo Stalwart said in the comments, there's no way she didn't see this coming. Biden has been falling apart for a long time.
Well, I think I don't know. I think that Kamala deserves a chance to try to distinguish herself to some extent from Biden. But really, how much distance can you really create when you're in the same party and you're serving the same master? I see Kamala's presidency as being a continuation of Biden. I personally did not enjoy some of the behavior. I think I was probably most appalled by the censorship that took place during the pandemic. I just felt like that was horrible.
Yeah.
All right, California's in.
The mass vaccination.
145 to 211.
Okay. Yeah, so Kamala's catching up. I want to see if her contract value.
Well, that's no surprise. If she can't get California, I'm done. I'm turning this camera off, going to bed. Boys, come on, let's go to bed. Yeah, I'm done with this one.
Yeah. But I, when people say that Republicans are going to destroy democracy, I didn't feel like I lived in a democratic society during the pandemic. Democratic and a free society means I should be able to do the things I want to do. And I did not feel like I was given access to honest information during the pandemic. I felt like there was an agenda being pushed. and there were legitimate questions about Fauci and all that stuff, and they were just, you know, proof later on that they were lying. Even Chris Cuomo, who was really shaming people for not getting the shot, he apologized later. He was like, "I'm really sorry that I did that." But you know,
he apologized.
he did. Look it up. Yeah, Chris Cuomo apologized, and my feeling is like, I don't think you have to apologize for being wrong. You have to apologize for not listening to other smart people who had an opinion different from yours. You know, and actually, I was really happy when Elon Musk bought Twitter, not because I like the man. I do not like Elon Musk. I think he's an apartheid, you know, racist kind of guy. But I don't really care about that. Just let me live. Let me do what I'm going to do. Stop telling me what to think, what I can and cannot say.
Where'd you get to be so oppositional, Boyce? What's going on with that?
Well, you know, I've always been like that. But at the same time, I'm oppositional.
People who are oppositional need love.
Well, maybe I do. Maybe I do. Maybe I do. But I'll tell you, I'm opposition. I'm definitely oppositional when I feel like you're trying to oppress or control me or people I care about. And so when Musk bought Twitter, and he was revealing the fact that the Twitter leadership were working with the FBI and the CIA to take people's Twitter accounts down because they disagreed on the shot. I was happy about that. You know, like now I go on Twitter and I don't have fear. I don't have fear, like, because think about this. I've lost millions of dollars because think about it. Imagine you spent I spent 8 years building up my Instagram following to 680,000. There was a lot of money to be made from a platform that big. It's very hard to do that. And then they just take it. And they don't give you any due process. There was no explanation. And they did this to us multiple times. And it bothered, it angered me. It really upset me. And I saw this happening to a lot of Black people. So I think that I'm not saying this makes the Democrats terrible people to be in office. But when you come and you try to tell me, oh, no, it's those guys who are going to take your democracy, I have a hard time believing you because you were.
And I mean, I had COVID patients. And then we're looking at, these people that with this whole being forced to take the jab. And here's the thing, they're just going on and on about this pro-choice and how the Trump people, the states are taking the women's right away to have an abortion and women don't have autonomy over their bodies. When y'all made people get these shots in order to keep their jobs. And now you have all these lawsuits that had to get settled for millions of dollars. Bay Area Rapid Transit, BART, had to give, those transit workers got $1 million a piece because they lost their jobs because they would not take the shot. Illinois, they had to give, I think the nurses and stuff got 25 million, and that was like 2 or 3 years ago. New York, they had to have multi-million-dollar settlements that have started to come down. And then you find out, all these people getting myocarditis, all these athletes, having these sudden deaths, these 20-something-year-old people having a sudden death. So, and then they had to come out and say it does increase risk for myocarditis. So now that's on record. That's clinically been actually published. So they had to come back and just retract everything. But now you have people that lost their livelihoods or were forced to have to get something in their body that they didn't want in order to feed their families. And you can't, to me, that's hypocritical to say, oh, well, the Roe v. Wade stuff, but then you made all these people get vaccinations.
Yeah, I think that we got to look at the nuances there because Musk did ban accounts on Twitter. Accounts that he personally did not like.
Right.
He personally went in. It wasn't like a system was set up to ban accounts. He personally went and banned accounts that they said something about him. He didn't like it and he banned their account. So we can't really say that you feel more comfortable on Twitter. The whole flavor of Twitter has shifted to the point where a lot of people don't even want to use it anymore. So we can't say that. And the nuances that even Elon Musk's father, he was anti-apartheid.
He was pro-apartheid.
No, he was anti-apartheid.
Oh, was
Elon Musk's father. Mm-hmm.
I thought he was an apartheid, pro-apartheid.
No, he wasn't. He fought against apartheid.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's nuances there, and again, you just have to kind of dig into a lot of it. But there has been a lot of accounts that's banned on Twitter, and even listen. I understand that there are systems in place where they're trying to bring down Black people, making them get a shot, making them all of this stuff. I'm here to say that it's not working. Nothing works. You could immunize Black people. It ain't gonna work. We still around. We still here. Ain't nothing gonna happen.
We don't die. We multiply.
We baby kids. We don't die. Remember back in the early 2000s, this whole thing with chemtrails. Remember this stupid stuff with chemtrails? We still here. What? We still here. What's it gonna be? It seems like every time there's always something, and Black people suspicious about it, like it's gonna get us. Nothing's gonna get us. We're not. They need us. Nothing's gonna take us out of here. I really don't think so. I really think this fear mongering, whether you got the shot or didn't get the shot, I don't think it mattered. You're still gonna be alive now. But I know a lot of people personally who didn't make it with COVID. I know people in my family, you know this, boys, who didn't make it. People that I know very closely to me who didn't make it and they wouldn't get the shot. There are people who didn't make it and they would. I'm saying is that it doesn't matter. I'm saying that if you are president, your job is to support all these systems that you're hired to support. So if the Center for Disease Control puts out a report and says this, you have to trust in the systems. Now, as Black people, we don't trust the systems for good reason, right? Forced sterilization. We have a history. We have, as Black people, I call it healthy cultural paranoia. We just don't trust stuff, and it's healthy. It's a survival mechanism. I teach my research class. We talk about Tuskegee experiment. We talk about all this other things. And even what's the other one? Henrietta Lacks. We talk about all of these things. There's a good reason why we don't trust these systems. But as president, your job as president is to support these systems. That's your job. If you're anti-system, I don't know, it doesn't make you, I don't know what you're going to do. Like, you have to support all of them. So I think that's the distinction we should make.
I thought it was very weird to have a president, sort of talking like they're the underdog. All the institutions are illegitimate. All the news is fake news, and I don't like that. I think that's very bad for the country. Because one thing I notice about my Trump supporter friends is they don't believe nothing that doesn't align with their point of view. But now the problem is my liberal friends, they got a delusional issue too. Like I don't think they're able to really see the world very rationally, but at least there's a respect for certain institutions. And I feel like Trump's presence in politics, it's a reflection of what America is becoming. I think America is becoming dumber and more ratchet as time goes on. And he's dumb and ratchet to some extent, not completely dumb, but just kind of ignorant. Like, how about this? He acts ignorant and kind of ratchet. And I think people kind of like that. That makes him seem more down to earth. But also, when Trump came in first, he was coming in insulting people and just saying all this stuff politicians don't normally say. And the Democrats are trying to keep it up here. Y'all remember when Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high?
Yes.
That tone has changed. Now they're like, well, we got to go low with you. We got to get down in the ghetto.
We're going to hell.
Right. So they've gotten down in the mud. They started slinging more insults at Trump. But before, they weren't really doing that as much. And so I don't feel like Trump's presidency has been all that great for the country. And overall, I think, but where Trump is correct is that there has to be something at some point that's going to drain the swamp. Here is the one thing, even though I'm going to lose a lot of money if Kamala don't win this election, because I literally bought all those Kamala contracts. So I'm kind of mad if I don't get my bread tomorrow. But one thing I can say that is good about a Trump presidency is that him working with someone like Elon Musk, they have a very rude, no nonsense, politically incorrect way of dealing with stuff. And I could see, when Elon came into Twitter, he came in and said, we got too many people here working here. So there's let's say there's 80,000 employees. He says, no, we're going to operate with 10,000 or whatever. Right. And they're like, but you can't do that, Elon. He's like, no, I bet you, watch me do it. Right. And that attitude, let's just be honest. Let's just be fair. that attitude, that approach to things, sort of defining what he decides to be possible rather than listen to people saying that that's not possible. That's what got him to be able to do impossible things. And when he started Tesla, people said you cannot start a major automobile manufacturer in the United States. Tesla's rolling. SpaceX, he has launched more successful rockets than fucking Boeing. Excuse my French. Boeing and Tesla, well, so not I'm sorry, Boeing and SpaceX around 2011, NASA gave the bulk of the money to Boeing. They gave a little bit of money to SpaceX. Boeing, with all that money, has yet to get a rocket out into space and back.
And they got astronauts stuck in the space on the Boeing ship.
Yes,
I didn't forget about it.
Stranded as we speak. They're stranded as we speak. And guess who went up there? Who's going to go up there and get them? SpaceX.
Oh Lord Jesus.
SpaceX. That's in your like. So I just kind of think, I know people get offended by Musk politics. I'm offended by it too. But can we at least take a moment to try to also appreciate what he can do? I don't think the man is. I don't think I hate the way the government spends money. It drives me insane. Like I want somebody to go in there and
tell me how you hate the way the government spends money, because I think there's a lot of misconception about how government spends money. 60% of our budget is spent on defense. There's no other country that does this. And by the way, I just want to say, Elon Musk, he sought to buy Twitter as an impulse. He didn't even think it through. He just was like, I'm going to buy Twitter. And then when he got in there too deep, he tried to pull out.
And they made him.
They did not allow him to pull out. He did it out of impulse. Because first of all, his little ego was bruised on Twitter because he is a little boy who was reacting more to being bullied because he had a terrible childhood. He was almost beaten to death in boarding school. When he was, he really was. He had an awful childhood, and they beat him so bad he was put into the hospital. That's how bad it was. And his parents did nothing to protect him. When he got out of the hospital, they just put him right back in that same environment that beat him up. Like I would have changed schools or protected him in some way. They didn't. So he has this wound. Don't get me started with Elon Musk.
Yeah, she's doing a deep dive. I love it. I love it.
And then when he goes and someone on Twitter says something about him, wasn't there a group of people that were tracking his flights? They were going and they were tracking. They could see his private jet. They knew where he was going. They were posting it on Twitter or something. He made an impulse decision to buy Twitter and then changed his mind later because he woke up and was like, this is really a dumb idea. And then he was stuck. He was stuck into a situation that he couldn't get out of because he was more reacting to his pain and hurt that he has not even started to process. I can't even imagine all the things that happened to Elon Musk when he was growing up, those primitive years, and how he had no one to help him is a very good reason. And his whole attitude toward therapy is like, I'll never go to therapy. But how many wives do you need to have, and how many children all over the place you need to have before you start realizing I need some help. He needs help.
I got an update on the polls. The Washington State is Harris is leading with 24% in. She's leading 51 to 46%. Oregon is Harris, and then of course California. And
what
then
about Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin? We need them coming.
Pennsylvania is still, Trump is leading 51% to 47%, and they've got about 74% of the vote in. So it's still close, but he's leading right now.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is a big one.
Yeah, Minnesota is, Trump has got that one. What was the other one? It's pink. Wisconsin, he's got that one. Georgia is still, where are we at with Georgia?
It doesn't even matter with Georgia. I mean, if he loses Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, it's not going to make a difference. I mean, if he wins those, then it's over. We might as well pack it up.
Georgia's still neck and neck, but he's winning, and they've got 90% of the vote in. I don't know if that county that had the bomb threats, if they were finished yet, but it says they've got 90% of the vote in. Nevada, they're saying Nevada, we're not going to know till November 12th. But we'll see what happens tonight because of that whole thing where they've got to certify the signatures or make sure the signatures are good for the voters. It's some new law they have out there. But
I thought Arizona was going to be blue this time. Arizona was blue last time.
Still neck and neck. It's 49.6% for Trump, 49.5% for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, it's leading. It's leaning
and
that way.
Only 51% of the vote is in, so we still don't have the most of the vote. Still half the votes are in. So
if I gotta listen to this man talk about him winning for 4 years, I might slip my wrist. And his crowd sizes. Oh God.
That's so funny. Yeah. Well, I kind of think that overall, in a way, I kind of like when the country swings back right and left. I feel like Obama took us too far left. I thought Obama was gonna show up as a black man.
He didn't do any. Obama is central. He is not. If you call Obama liberal, he'd look at you and spit in your face.
Well, I'll
He's
say
nothing
this.
liberal about that man.
There's a reason that I think it was Newsweek named him the first gay president. I don't know if y'all remember that. They had him on the headline and they had the little rainbow flag and they said
the gays got a lot of rights under Obama.
Yeah, he really pushed that gay stuff, and I think with the revelation of what happened at those Diddy parties, kind of tells you what some of these elites are really up to. Not to speak on that too much, I'll let you read between the lines. And I just think that agenda is the agenda that was most effectively pushed forward. And I think a lot of black people. What's interesting with black people is that overall black people are conservative. They're not into a lot of that stuff, and I think that when they try to bundle us up with all the other non-white male rejects, a lot of black people are just like, no, that's not me. I'm not down with that. And I think that's where topics like whether it's some LGBT trans conversations or maybe the issue with terminating pregnancy, I think that causes a clear dividing line. Like when I think about my friends that go to church, I got friends that would go to a Jamal Bryant church because it's very entertaining and you get to pretend like you love God even if you ratchet all week long. And then I got my fire and brimstone friends that are like, no, these pastors, they come in there telling me who to vote for. They telling me that I should go abort my baby and all these other things. That's against God. That's against what's in the Bible. Right now, again, I'm not here to say that there's a right or wrong way to look at that, but I listen carefully to my friends that are in both categories. Like I found it really interesting that when I look at, let's use Jamal Bryant as an example. I'm just like, how are you not rectifying? What's the word I'm looking for? How are you clarifying the connection with these political beliefs and just the fact that you're telling people who to vote for with what you're teaching from the Bible? There's so many things that just come off as such a direct contrast. I'm like, what? I don't understand this. So it's almost like you feel like if the Democrats came in and said, we'll pay you $1 million, but you got to tell everybody to go worship Satan. You'd have black pastors saying, Satan is the true God. I really believe you'd have that. You'd have that, right? And then I again, I have my friends that are more right wing who are like, no, they're like, no, aborting the child is wrong. The gay stuff, their position on the gay stuff tends to be more like, you do what you do in the bedroom. Just I don't need to know about it. I don't have to acknowledge it or talk about it, right? Yeah, so I kind of feel like there has to be room for those conversations with the black community because everybody wants to put black people in the liberal Democrat box. And I think that that's linked back. If you go back 100 years, it's linked to agendas that related to communism and socialism. Like the Black Panther Party was a very communist organization. Same thing with the civil rights movement. It was rooted and funded and supported by a lot of communism. Communism's not always bad. Marxism's not always bad. But not every black person that supports, say, the Black Panthers is signing up to be a Marxist. Right. And I think that because we're diverse, as we see that diversity, we get to this point where people are arguing, well, you ain't really black if you don't believe this or if you don't believe that. And that to me is the colonizer trying to claim our blackness to say, well, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. Or if you don't do this, you ain't black. If you don't support the right to choose, then you're not black. No, you could be very black and still just say that's not my thing.
Well, if I don't go to bed, I'm gonna be fat, not black, because I gotta wake up. We gotta wake up in the morning, boys.
If you weigh 250 pounds and you ain't black,
Dr. Alicia, I really love your hair. I just wanted to tell you that I love that.
Girl, it is one big. The hair has clumped together. I need to take it down, but I'm not going to.
Let me tell you guys really quick what I'm seeing just from states that were blue last election that are kind of more leaning towards red right now. So Arizona was blue in 2020. It's leaning red. Last election, Colorado's still blue. Minnesota was blue. It's leaning red. Wisconsin was blue. It's leaning red. Pennsylvania was blue. It's leaning red.
Woo!
Georgia was blue. Is leaning red. North Carolina. Let's see, Virginia State.
What about North Carolina? Did that come in?
North Carolina is leaning red.
Wow.
I'm going to bed.
Wow.
Boys, let's go to bed.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna go to bed with you in a minute. That is very interesting.
I gotta set my outfit out, or I'm not gonna be able to put on my. I need to go to bed. I have to set my clothes out. Everything has to. I can't think in the morning because I'll be too tired.
Yeah, that's interesting. Ooh, buddy, we might have President Trump tomorrow, or maybe the next day, or whenever they finish settling it. That's interesting.
I think I'm gonna get off.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm starting to question all those Kamala Harris contracts I bought. I'm starting to wonder if I made a mistake. I had to buy them because I just hated to see her. I just couldn't believe the contract was 10 cents. Like turning 10 cents into $1. That's crazy, right? I don't regret it because it was the best decision I could make based on what I knew. But now I'm looking at these results, and what I really think might be happening too is that the Democrats and the liberals tend to be loud. The conservatives are not. The conservatives. No. Hold on. Wait. No, sorry. Let me explain it in a different way. The liberals have bigger. I think they have bigger mainstream platforms. So you'll see a Kamala Harris rally, and you'll have Beyonce and every Hollywood, superstar kind of supporting that, and we will think that that's where the nation's going. But then you've got a lot of these conservatives that people are ashamed to tell people that they vote for Trump. They're scared. They're kind of hiding in the shadows, right? And so they secretly go to the polls. They just place their vote and they don't say nothing. And I know this because one example I saw. This is just one story, and take it for what you want, right? But I remember seeing some of my friends get together, and I knew them both very well. One couple was deep red, Trump. The other couple was very, very blue, like love MSNBC, whatever. And they were talking back and forth. And here's what I noticed. My friends that were blue were really vocal. Like, oh, Trump is terrible. Only an idiot will vote for Trump. Why would you do that? Just kind of, the MSNBC kind of rhetoric. And my conservative friends just didn't say a word. They just listened. They didn't argue. They didn't say nothing. And I was sitting there and I was laughing because my friends that were blue assumed that because the other couple was black, that they were agreeing with them. But they weren't agreeing. They were just like, you can say what you want to say. We're going to just vote with how we want to vote. We don't need to explain to you why your vote is a stupid vote, right? And I wonder if that's happening nationwide. I really do. Because if Trump wins this election, it will surprise me because I really thought the momentum was in favor of Kamala. I really did.
She, people were saying that she benefited from a shorter election. Like, the fact that she didn't have to start out in a primary and go, she got in relatively late in the game. So I think it did help her.
Maybe it hurt her.
I think it definitely gave the Democrats a boost of energy that they were like Joe Biden just had the Democrats depressed because he got up there stumbling and fumbling and couldn't finish his sentences. And I mean, it was really funny. Like, so watching, I always think about the black Democratic stooges, the Rollins and the DLs. And I said, how you going to defend that? You can't defend what that man was doing.
Oh, yeah.
And, but then they kind of gave them a shot in the arm when they popped Kamala in there. I did not think that the country was going to be that enthusiastic about her. And I understood why they were. So then what happened was they flipped it on the Republicans. First, the Republicans were the ones who looked like they had the young, energetic, vibrant candidate, and the Democrats had the stodgy old man. Now it's completely flipped. And the same arguments they were making about Biden being unfit mentally and all this, now they were saying that about Trump. And I would watch Trump and I'd be like, yeah, they got a good point, because he's up there rambling, he ain't making no sense. He's older. You know, when older people have a cognitive decline, it happens really fast. Have you ever seen the video where Biden was speaking in 2019 versus how he sounded in 2024?
Oh yeah, and they tried to say he had a cold. But what was concerned about to me is what's going on with Kamala. Like, is she on? I'm like, is she on benzodiazepines or what? Because no, I'm serious. Because she's slurring. You know, like every other interview or speech where she gets the slurring, and I'm just wondering do they got her medicated? Seriously, as a doctor, because why do these speech? I'm watching these speech patterns on why are you slurring, girl?
Wow,
I haven't heard. I have to pay attention to. I didn't hear any. I have never heard any.
Tell me about benzodiazepine.
It's those are for anxiety. Xanax. That's a benzodiazepine. Xanax.
Interesting.
So, or Ativan. So there's just, somebody, and that's what I've read, that people saying that that's maybe what's going on, is that she gets really anxious. And so they give her, that may be what's going on. But she definitely does slur, to the point where people do skits about her and they will mimic her slurring. And, people have accused her of being drunk, hitting the bottle. I don't know. But I just know that based on her speech patterns that she, and it's not every single speech, but she will get the slurring.
Wow, I did not think about that. Wow, that's interesting, huh? Yeah, I still think that she's more presidential than Trump is.
Absolutely.
Plus, she's gonna make me some money tomorrow if she wins. So I want to announce to the 12 people that are listening that I'm announcing my endorsement of Kamala Harris.
Even though you voted for Cornell, come on, boys.
Right. That was a mistake. That was fake news. That never happened. I'm kidding. Actually, there's 1,100 people listening, so we got more than a couple of people.
We got a nice crowd tonight.
Yeah. I think it's good. Well, I think that what people want is they want to have an honest Black conversation with real Black people about our issues and our role in the process. I think a lot of people are getting sick of those fake Negroes on TV. Not all of them are fake. Who I like is Nina Turner.
Oh, I love Nina Turner.
Yeah, I like her because I think she's clearly a Democrat, right? Is that accurate?
I'm pretty sure she is.
Yeah, she's a Democrat, but she does it with a tremendous amount of respect for the Black community. Like, so she's very Black. She's very B1, just super Black first. But she still stands on what she believes as a Democrat, but she kind of checks the Democratic Party in how they approach Black people. And I really appreciated what she said about Black men, and just like they don't want to be told what to do. I said, thank you for saying that. That's it. Just don't be up in here barking at us. What
are you talking about? I tell you what to do all the time, boys.
Well, you tell me what to do, and I have to ignore you too sometimes. But
you can't ignore me.
But still, though, it's like really, no. I mean, just to keep it real, like generally speaking, I don't do nothing unless I want to do it. That's it. And there's nothing radical about that. White women say it all the time. Like no means no, my body, my choice. They say all these things, right? So I think Black men want sovereignty. Like what you're really seeing is something that I think is very good for the Black community right now. Is you're seeing a lot of Black men standing up and saying we want to be grown-ups and we want to be heard. I think some of them are misguided. Like I think when they are talking crazy about single mothers, that makes me angry, and it's unfair and it is immature. But at the same time, the fact that men are just saying, hey, we're here too. We matter as well. I think that that's really good for the Black community, because I don't think you would have had this, say, 10 or 15 years ago. So there we go. What do y'all think? You think it's time to go? You think it's time to?
Yeah, we can get off.
Okay.
I'm
sad.
I'm gonna go to bed, and then I hope that I wake up and it's gonna be something different.
What do you want to share before we go? Do you want to share your information about where people can follow you and all that stuff? I'll put it in.
Please.
I'm Constance Carter. Like Nubian money. Take that off. Thank you. Okay.
There you go.
Constance Carter. You can find me anywhere. I am Constance Carter.
Okay. I am Constance Carter. All right. What about you? What about you, Dr. Charm? I'm gonna put you on the screen.
You're on the screen. Y'all can find me on Instagram, CharmGirl77. For anybody who's going to be in Las Vegas, November 16th, that's next Saturday, I will be performing at the iconic Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club on the Las Vegas Strip for the Keenan Presents Pop-Up Comedy Festival. More information on IG on how to get tickets. I'm super excited about that. And if anybody wants to get some spiritual readings done, you can text me at 404-832-5179. If you want to get an astrology chart done, tarot card readings, or psychic medium work, text me at that number. Thanks for having me tonight, y'all.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Wait, you're a psychic medium. Who's winning tonight?
I didn't do any forecast on it, so I was like, I was too nervous. I couldn't do it. You know.
You're performing. You're a comedian, Dr. Charm.
I've been doing stand-up comedy for 7 years, Dr. Boyce.
What? No.
Yes.
Oh my God. I gotta go to your show. That's what's up. That's great. I always wanted to be a stand-up comedian. I just can't do it. I'm not funny. No one laughs at me. They laugh at me. They don't laugh with me. Go ahead.
No, I was an actress. I was doing acting first, and then Tina Graham, the illustrious Tina Graham, who is the godmother of urban comedy. She used to be the booker for Def Jam. And I went to a comedy convention. They used to have me do a medical talk, and I was talking to her, and I said something she thought was funny, and she said, "You need to start writing jokes." She told me that in 2016. So if Tina Graham, Mike Epps slept on her couch, she helped Monique get the Parkers. She put she put some of these comedians first $100 in their pockets. I was like, you know what? If she said I need to start writing jokes, I need to start writing jokes. So I took her advice and said, it's almost been 8 years now. So yeah.
Wow, I love it. I'm definitely gonna check out your so send me some of your material. I like to see it.
I'll send you my skits though, Dr. Barnes. On my IG, y'all go on my IG. I post my skits. I did a Jaguar Wright skit. It's a couple people said they thought that I was Jaguar. Dr. Lee said,
not a Jaguar Wright skit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
you
so
and Tiara
funny.
should get together. I know. Boyce was telling me how funny she is too.
Who is that?
Tiara. That's Tiara.
Tiara's hilarious. Yeah, I'm following you now. Yeah, and I'm gonna check out your content. That's awesome, Dr.
Yeah, I drop a new skit about every other week because you got to stay fresh. But I did my I try to stay fresh because it's fun. It's so much stuff with this election has been really good for the comedians. Any current events, the comedians we're gonna clean up.
Oh yeah. There's so much to make fun of. Okay, so Dr. Alicia, babe, did you want to share your information and let everybody know where they can follow you and all that?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Election night coaching with Dr. Alicia. Hit me up. Individual and couples coaching.
All right.
Yes.
And my name is Boyce Watkins, and tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., we're going to do our daily financial consciousness training. It's called Money in the Morning, The Art of Economic Elevation. And that's where we get together every morning, and it's 100% free. And if you want to be invited, just text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948, or you can also go to b1moneytips.com if you live internationally. That's b1moneytips.com. So see you all tomorrow morning, and I will let you all know if my Kamala Harris contracts cash in, fingers crossed. And then also tomorrow, we're going to talk about something that I was reading about where they said that a lot of young people are engaged in doomsday spending because they have no hope for the future. And they are worried that the world's going to come to an end and all these problems that they're seeing, and so because of that, they're not even planning for the future financially. So we're going to kind of talk about that tomorrow. So well, thank you, everybody. It was great to see you.
It was fun.
This was a blast. This is what I had in mind, just hanging out online and just having a shared experience. And I want to say thank you to everybody who hung out with us.
Yes,
make sure you follow the Queens every day. Like they do a great show. They are kick-ass. I mean, these are the baddest Black women on the planet. The View ain't got nothing on y'all.
They ain't got shit on us, Dr. B. They ain't got shit on us.
Those are fake plastic TV people. These are real Black women that are super smart and amazing. So if you want to be notified when they go live every single day, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m., everybody pull out your phone, text the word Queens to the number 87948. Text Queens to 87948, and they'll send you an invite when they go live. I'll put it on the screen. And we got to support the sisters. We got to support the intelligent Black conversations. So I'm asking everybody in the chat to let's be intentional. put a yes in the chat if you're going to text Queens to 87948. And then when you get the link, you're going to click on it and come in and make a comment and support. You do that. When they ask you to pay money, just pay attention, right? We got to do this because our people, we got all these ridiculous outer space Negroes representing us on TV, and you got real ones out here that are really accomplishing it, getting it done, raising the families, doing amazing things. These are the women that we all need to know about, whether you are Trump, Kamala, or anything in between. We got to make sure our community is always represented. Do we agree? Give me a yes in the chat so we can all walk out of here feeling good. All right. So thank you so much for saying yes, and thank you for hearing me out on that. All right, everybody, have a good night. Thanks, Constance and Dr. Charm and Dr. Dave. I'll see you in another room in a minute. Have a good night, everybody.
Hey, Dr. B, let's get back on y'all tomorrow and let's talk about the results and let's have a conversation.
That part. Let's do it. We gonna finish up. All right. So, have a good night, everybody. See you later.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.